Chris Johnson,
Luke Barrett,
aka CJ.
absolutely, sir.
Hey, thank you for coming and doing this, man, especially in this nasty weather.
Hey, well, I tell you what, I'm happy to do it. I remember meeting you at the training center many years ago, and a rough and ready firefighter, thoughtful individual. I couldn't be happier to be here this morning.
Oh,
all right,
man, I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
probably pretty scared little firefighter when you first met me.
Well, you didn't know as much as you know now, right?
Yeah, and that was what it was, too. Those classes were kind of intimidating, because like before everything was in house, like guard school.
Yeah.
Guard school, we're all scared together, and we at that time we went to Birch Creek, which is just north of Dillon there. So we kind of went off in our own little compound and just met some of the engine foremans and stuff at the time. Came in and would teach each class, but all you knew was like your fellow rookies, and then you get out in the world and kind of see some stuff. And then I come to Missoula to take a class from you at the campus, and I don't think I'd spent any time at U of M yet, so. Going from like small Dillon, where I was going to college, to there, I was like, holy cow,
Well, it's an interesting story about that training center. A lot of people don't know. It got started back with Kitty Ortman.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know if you ever met Kitty Ortman. She's a rock star. She supports Northern Rockies Coordination Center from time to time and dispatching,
Oh.
But, before that, before Kitty, there was nothing. There was the void, right? The great void in training, the kind of training you're talking about, where, hey, we got all these men and women learning all over the region, all over the nation. And yeah, there's the geographic area training center for the big boys across town, right?
Yeah.
But what is there for your local leadership? How do we make sure we're doing this? We're kind of on the same page, type 3 organization, right?
Yeah.
So there was nothing. So Kitty was just having a conversation with a couple of people. Matter of fact, one of them was, he was a volunteer fire department chief. And they were talking about the same thing. So they started it with 3 or 4 people. Bill Miller was in at the beginning of it, who ran Great Northern Crew for a while. He was down at NAFRE teaching at the National Aviation Fire Training Center, in Tucson. And now, he's been doing that since. But they started that for that very reason. And they would have, 6, 8 people in a class as word was spreading.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't funded by anybody, right? They were just doing it.
Like volunteer then, eh?
And they were charging tuition.
Oh.
Who charges tuition, right? So,
yeah.
So anyway, when I went, I was in the Bitterroot. I was on the Bitterroot back in. I'd gone off. I've been working fire since 1988. Up in Libby, I'm from Libby.
Yeah.
And 5th generation up there, Libby loggers, from
That's
a logging
awesome.
family.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And so anyway, I had wanted to follow my mother's footsteps and teach school. She's a 5th grade teacher, and so I was 12 years a seasonal, right?
Yeah.
And I left to go teach, and when I come back, I taught for 5th grade in North Carolina for a couple of years, loved it, but was going broke, and it's pitiful what we pay teachers.
It's
bake
terrible.
sales for books, So.
Yeah.
So anyway, I come back. Long story, but I come back, and there'd been the big fire hire in 2000. All the people like me who were seasonals, they had permanent positions now, right? Engine foreman used to be a GS5 temporary position. Now you're riding benefits, and you put a little money away for retirement, and I didn't qualify for my old position, so they sent me up to Kitty Ortman. They called it Kitty College. You're going to Kitty College.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
Look at the nice ring.
Kitty College.
Yeah.
And dude, I walked in there, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Oh, just like from what she was doing, you're
What
like,
she was doing.
Man, I love what's going on here. I love it.
Yeah. There was interagency people, right?
Yeah.
I got a guy from the county. I got a guy from BLM. I got a couple people from the Forest Service. They've all got these different perspectives, and it's just a big conversation, right? We're essentially having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm a behaviorist, right? So you haven't learned anything from me until it manifests itself in a change in behavior,
Oh.
right? Otherwise, to me, it's just contemplation, right? I'm thinking about making a change. Well, are you?
Oh.
Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And that's what Wild Land Firefighting decision-making is all about. It's like a change in a course of action, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go from doing this over here that may or may not be working, or I'm going to get a little more efficient, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to change something. I'm going to do something different. And, man, I fed off that. Hugh Warford was one of the instructors. Shout out to Hugh. because I don't think he trains folks anymore. He's probably long since retired.
Yeah.
But that was old Hugh Warford. He would say, hey, you don't show any change, man. What are we doing here? Why are you coming? Just for an intellectual exercise?
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, long story.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I was there for 11 years at that training center.
And where was that? It was here in Missoula?
Yeah, well, it's at the U.
Oh, was it the U? Oh, yeah.
At the U.
Yeah. Oh, the one that you, just recently.
Southwest Montana Zone Training Center. You know, the mightiest zone training center in the land.
And it felt like it too. You know, I didn't know, not really anyone else was doing it until I went to Region 6. You know, and I was like, you guys don't have a CJ? You know.
Right. You know, and I wouldn't say I would get into trouble, but I would push the envelope a little bit over there. You know, take on classes. The one thing I had over there, thanks to my old boss Laura Ward, who, you know, to me, she's a very humble person, but she's a legend in the business. You know, she retired a few years ago, but she gave me the flexibility to really do what I needed to do and go in any direction I wanted to go within limits, right? I mean, but to be able to be creative, to be able to really gather any cadre, any teaching staff I wanted to, take as many students as I wanted to. Yeah, we went virtual before virtual was cool, right? I mean, before we had to in the pandemic.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, virtual was cool.
and it worked.
Yeah, totally.
You know, everybody throws that under the bus. What I'm here to tell you is, ever listen to this podcast, if you think that training can't be done virtually, you're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
You know, all you need to do is reach an adult learner. And I can reach an adult learner through a headphone just like this.
Yeah.
Right? A little video just like this. They don't have to be, maybe like you say, when you come into that situation for the first time coming off a district, now you're in, you know, you're feeling nervous, right?
Yeah, sweating.
Because you're around your peers. You don't know what they know.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're behind already
Always.
when you're not, right?
Yeah.
And so now I got to break through that barrier before I can do anything for you. You know, I can't save a drowning man from the dock.
Yeah.
I got to dive in and see where you are. Now I got to deal with all this too. I got to deal with your ego, and I got to deal with, you know, you're feeling like maybe you're not adequate to be here.
Yeah.
Man, it's virtual. You're sitting in your home. You've taken care of business with your family. You got a cup of coffee. You had your food. You don't have to worry about travel.
Yeah.
Right? Don't worry about parking at the university. And now you're just settled in, and I think people are ready to play way more in a virtual environment. There's a social aspect to it, right? There's a meet and greet that goes on in the in-person training. But I tell you, man, people are resilient. They'll learn. And I tell you what, you'll save, you know, I don't want to get on a soapbox, but you save millions of dollars in travel, per diem, and you'll train more people, quite frankly. Right?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And like you said, just even the little stressors of the travel, you know, like I was on BRD, so coming from Whitehall and then figuring out, like, taking my POV and then worrying that I'm going to get a ticket because, you know, like, 'cause I think you'd say that, you know, let me know if you're going to be in your POV so we can get you set up to get the parking pass. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and, you know, your people have, like, just didn't grab one or whatever from you, and simple, you know.
$50.
Yeah.
$50, and I'm no help. I tell them, listen, man, you get a ticket around here, I'm no help.
No, yeah.
I walk in behind you, they're going to look at me like, you again? Aren't you telling them?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm no help, man.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
So, like you said, it takes the stress out. And then the way the Zoom works, too, or the Teams. Yeah, Zoom, right?
We're doing Zoom.
Yeah, and you can break it up in those little groups. And that really helps, too, because then the discussion happens. Like, you get the main project out and then break up in your teams and your groups. And then, like, before I had an FMO or an AFMO that was head of it, and you get to talk back and forth. And I think you get more personable with that higher up person that, you know, even as a 7, you might not talk to an FMO that much in your life, you know?
Yeah, you know, there's a sense of intimacy right there when it's all you hear, right? If you're locked in on your training, you're in your room. It's a different sensory stage, right? I mean, you're completely locked in. It's one brain talking to another. Yeah. You get the right coach, right?
Yeah.
But this, you know, the way this sound comes through clean, the way you have nothing else to do, no other real input. I mean, for me, it's a pretty powerful way to teach. It's discounted because it's not traditional.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, man, we never had, when I'd always keep up with the students. How you doing? You enjoying this? Is this hard for you? Would you rather be someplace else?
Yeah.
No. I mean, almost to a person. Some people would have a technology problem, right? I don't have internet.
Yeah.
I don't have this. I'd set them up. I'd send them a, whatever you call it, a hot stick or a
little
something.
hotspot thing.
Something,
yeah.
a hotspot thing, a little laptop, and say, come and play. We can have fun. We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
But that was it. Otherwise, way higher marks than we ever got for in person.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what I kind of noticed too, because and until I got into college the second time when I was going to pre-physical therapy school, well, it was like my own, like I was getting my prereqs for physical therapy, I guess, and someone mentioned like earplugs, taking tests with earplugs, and that really helped me out because I'd hear something and my brain would be like, what is that, and I'd be trying to, and like you said, so taking the test online, same deal, like it's just me in a room, so I would just really focus on the question instead of like something you have to read that's longer than a sentence. My brain will wander a little bit. Like I'll read it and then I'll hear a sniffle. It could be something little, and then my brain's like, on that instead of being like on the sentence, and I gotta go back and reread.
Absolutely.
So I think it helped me, at least my learning style.
Yeah.
But I'm a personal guy too, so that was the only thing I was missing was just the in person kind of shaking hands and getting to know folks.
Yeah.
So that's the only downside for me. But other than that, though, the nice thing is you don't have to stress either getting into class either, because like in person you can only have so many people in the classroom. So
24, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about that. Can't have more than 24, and listen. I want to. There's some instruction, but then I want to get them with a coach, right?
Yeah.
I want to get them with a mentor, not necessarily a coach, but that's an okay term too. But I want to keep that less than 6, and it's hard for people, It's hard for people because the one thing I do know is that for most people it's a collateral duty, as my Canadian friend said yesterday. It's a quarter of my desk.
It's a quarter, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "What'd you say?" He said a quarter of my desk. I'm like, "Oh, like a collateral duty?" He goes, "No, like a quarter of my desk. 3/4 of stuff I do is not this." Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, I'm understanding you."
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
So, trying to recruit people to come and teach or coach, I'd get great guys. I get Benji Haig, Jay Wood. They were foundational.
Yeah.
Coming up. Brandon Chikowski, Chick, greatest beard in show business.
Oh, it really is, man.
I think it's a lot of these guys who have come through, and I don't want to miss anybody, the Bill Millers, the Todd Wilsons. Those guys, year after year after year, dedicated their time to their craft, right? I mean, They put a lot of work into that because they wanted to deliver a good product, right? They wanted to take material that they felt maybe wasn't so hot, right? That was developed for everybody and develop it for these guys.
Yeah.
And so I can't, if it was just me, over there, it wouldn't have worked. All these people, and then behind the scenes with your Ginger Clausens, your Deb Grahams, your Amy Saltzmans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all these people that handled all the logistics, the billing, all that stuff to make it work. I mean, I was in the catbird seat. The only reason I would have left is the job I took was position me a little bit better for retirement, right? To take care of my family and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left that training environment at all.
I think people could tell too, because even when I was talking about possibly having you on, and like I said before we started, you were one of the first people I thought of because of the job you do and how much you do for the forest, well, for the fire agencies in general, just not even just Forest Service, and you can tell it means a lot to you, so you put a lot into it. So people were really excited to have you on, because I think people also miss the connection because they usually see you or talk to you at least once a year, through class or whatever it might be, or on Fireline, like you said, you didn't even have much for fire last year.
I miss that.
Yeah,
I really do. But I'll let you in on something. I've told this to a lot of students before, but this is my foundational belief: is that the second best idea this country ever had, short of throwing out the British, right?
Yeah.
That's the top.
Yeah.
Is that we're going to have public lands for everybody, and we're going to have some people that steward them. That, Gifford Pinchot said, hey, we're not only stewards, but we got to get creative too. We got to always be innovative and creative, looking forward, right? So those two things meld in training and implementation. They really do.
Yeah.
So I get to do that, right? I get to make sure that everybody else has a shot at the same opportunity I had coming up. Fires change a lot. Fires change a hell of a lot in my career. You know, it's when I was a kid, when I was 18, 19, my dad was in the Forest Service. He was in the Forest Service for 40 years. You know?
Really? And logging too, hey?
Well, he was in timber. Yeah, he was in timber.
Oh, gotcha.
Guy still knows. He was. We moved a lot as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You know, always in a green truck.
Yeah.
In a very family atmosphere at the district level growing up. Not a lot of distractions. A lot of distractions now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distractions. For good or for worse, right? But we had everything there at the district. You had admin. You had tech. You had timber, trails. You know, you get it, right?
Yeah, because when I first got on, some of that stuff was fading out. Like, we still had, like, an admin person, but they were kind of moved into a different position. They had, like, limited power, but they could still help you out. Because I remember something was going on with my app my first year, and they were able to help me kind of sort things out and help get it, like, pushed through to Albuquerque. But transition was already happening, and yeah.
So I grew up in that, right?
Yeah.
And when there was a fire, everybody showed up on the weekend.
Yeah.
Everybody was there. You know, it was the same guys and same men, same women from the office. They didn't have to have all the qualifications you have to have now, so a lot of them could just go.
Yeah.
You know, go and help. When I was a kid, we had a big prescribed fire program. It was up on the Kootenai where my dad worked, and there's a lot of country up there, you know, and so there's a lot of logging going on at the time, and a lot of log and slash. So we burned a lot of slash, a lot of cedar slash, you know, hemlock, thick stuff, a lot of stuff. You know, you kind of got to wade through it to take your strip, right?
Yeah.
But when it went out, there's so much open country, so much public land up there that when we lost the burn for 10, 20, 30 acres, we'll come and get it tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go burn again. We got more to burn.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We burn at the right time. So Mother Nature's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's the harm, right?
Yeah, a couple bonus acres. And,
exactly, right.
Not a big deal.
So that was the environment I grew up in. But with wildfire, you know, it was rare to get out. I mean, 1988, yes, a lot of us went down into Yellowstone. That was a big deal, you know, because it was the first time all that upper elevation lodgepole, at least here in the Northern Rockies, in modern time, was going off.
I was going to ask you about that because I thought that 88 was the big Yellowstone fires.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of stories, there's a lot of hose lays going on, protection, because at that time, and still, they managed their lands a lot different, right?
Yeah.
It's untrammeled, right? Wildfire has a place, got an important role, a renewing role, right? They understood that in 1988 just fine.
Yeah.
They're living in a lodgepole landscape. It has to burn.
Yeah.
It's stand replacing. That's what it does, right?
Yeah, it needs to burn, yeah.
But the communication at that time from the park superintendent, if I remember his title correctly, was let it burn. We're letting it burn. When he didn't mean we're not doing anything, he meant we're supposed to let it burn.
Yeah.
We're supposed to let it be on the landscape. That's what this is all about.
Man, he kind of ahead of his time then there.
He was ahead of his time, but he took some lumps. He took some serious lumps. Like, what do you mean? There's thousands of people up here. You're not doing anything?
Yeah.
What are you all doing?
Yeah, being a national park, you know.
Yeah. So aside from that, in 88, it was quiet. From 89 to 93 it rained every year. Kind of a funny story. I was given my first, I was an assistant foreman, GS4, 1039. I just come over from DNRC from the state. Actually, it was called the DSL at that time, Department of State Lands.
Oh.
It had yet to transition to Department of Natural Resources Conservation. I'm old, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I transfer over to the green side, the good side. No offense, you DNRC partners, John Carr, Matt, Corey.
Yeah.
No offense, Carl. You've been on both sides, Nick.
And they know.
Right?
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
But I go over and I get a budget from Jay Adams, my FMO. He says, Chris. He called me Chris. Most people call me CJ, but he called me what my dad calls me. My dad calls me Chris. Mom called me Chris.
Yeah.
He says, Chris, I'm going to give you $5,000. And I want you to build a 50th anniversary Smoky trailer. 50th anniversary of the bear.
Yeah.
I said, you got it, Jay. What do you want? He's like, whatever. Design it. It's got to be on a trailer. You got to pull it around. So in 93, that was that year, it rained almost every day. Everybody remember in that time, 93, it poured. And so we built this trailer, which was I'm not a good carpenter. It will be over-engineered. It is still running
Really?
on the highways of Lincoln County. It is.
That is awesome.
It's this 4-door French door thing. You'll see it up at Libby District up there. We pull it around. We put in the middle of this this little cabin we built on a trailer with these 4 French doors. We could open up the top doors, and kids could roll dice, fuzzy dice, to get a number, any number.
Yeah.
But if they rolled craps, they could get any poster they wanted.
Oh,
know?
really? Yeah. That is awesome.
And there was a poster called Light Up the Night.
Oh.
It was very popular. It had bats, nocturnal animals, right? They all wanted that one.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so we built this thing. And my assistant, it was Jake Rosling. Jake, shout out to Jake. Jake is now a detective with Missoula City Fire Department. Great guy, great kid.
Yeah, thanks for what you do, Jake.
Yeah. So Jake comes to me. It's now the unveiling.
Oh.
And we got people from the Spokesman Review. We got them from Kalispell, of course, Libby, right? The Western News. Maybe a TV station, I don't know. But they're going to come up and cover it. And Jake comes into my office. He's got this look. He's like, CJ, we got a problem. I'm like, what? Because we're about to roll, Jake. What's going on?
Yeah.
He goes, we got a problem. We built a ship in a bottle. Because it rained every day. We built it in the shed. We built it in, and it wasn't going to fit. It wasn't going to come out.
Oh, that's what you're talking about size-wise. Yeah.
It's too tall for the door to get out. And I'm like, oh, the press are here, Jake.
Yeah.
The press, right? So I said, how close are we? Can we take the garage door off? He's like, no, it's not. It's too much. We're going to have to take the axle of this trailer off and drag it out. And we did. We put it up on blocks. We took the axle off and drug it out, and it sounded like nails on a chalkboard. And the press looking at us like, what are you doing, you idiots? And they took it easy on us.
Oh, good.
They didn't have any panning photos of me, you know.
Yeah.
The photo of me is by this by the window that should have been 3 feet above my head.
Yeah.
By the window, given this, they took it easy. Well, the reason I tell that story is because '93 it rained every year, but then early in '94, storm came.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
94, yeah.
We hear early on in the year that we got jumpers that sticks out of Missoula, Prineville. You got a hot shot crew. You got an engine crew down at GJ Grand Junction.
Yeah.
They're up on a hill. I know where that is. Right? I know where that country is.
Yeah.
But we got legends that are dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Don
Mackey, Thrash.
Yeah.
And a lot of our people that were here, that were jumping out of Missoula, I mean, they had elevated status in my mind. You know, to be a smoke jumper, to me, is the pinnacle of the operation. Without the smoke jumping organization, we don't, in Man Gulch, right? We don't get placed as the main. We'd have been the main fire agency nationally, wildfire agency anyway. But we don't get the cachet. We don't get the ear of Congress. We don't get it's us.
Yeah.
We are. And no offense to my USDI partners, right? But at that time, without Man Gulch, without the paratroopers coming back from WW2,
Yeah.
and the tragedy of Man Gulch, we don't get the kind of cachet that we have for what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's intangible.
And to tag onto that too, because of smoke jumping and all the stuff that was going on at NCSB, North Cascades Smoke Jumper Base, you know, with the trials and Francis Lovekin and all the testing they were doing on parachuting and developing a program for training and actually like doing jumping on a regular basis, because there wasn't any of that in the whole U.S. Mm-hmm. So without that, you wouldn't be able to train the paratroopers for like D-Day and all that stuff that happened in World War II, you know? So it's like, man, it's important. Like you said, if there wasn't smoke jumpers, then I don't know what would have happened during World War II, you know?
Right. So now fast forward in that 94, when everyone's had this, you know, nothing of 93. Back in the day, if you got out on a wildfire and you probably got a T-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Go get your T-shirt. You could lord that T-shirt over everybody in the shop because no one was going out. You didn't get to go out. We didn't have Type 5, 4, 3 ICs at that point. We were all single resource ICs or multiple resource ICs.
Oh.
That's all we were, you know.
Simple, though.
So you go get your single tree 10, 20 times during the season. 10-acre fire. Oh, boy. Season-ending event.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the way it was at that time. And then 94, they had, in that Gamble's Oak, underburn, they felt a level of security, probably left a remnant of the earlier year, of the last year. And then we got the overburn, burn back through up top. Everybody's trying to get to high ground.
Yeah.
Major fatality situation. And I still know a lot of those folks. I know a lot of those survivors from Storm King, and I hold them in reverence. Not only because of, everybody goes through situations that they didn't choose to be in.
Yeah.
They don't consider themselves heroic. Icky Woods,
Yeah, Icky.
Kim Lightly, Kevin Erickson.
Yeah.
I could go on.
Yeah, Hipke, right?
Yep, Hipke. They don't consider themselves heroes. They're in a terrible situation. But the sea change that came over our training and operations after Storm King was due to that incident.
Yeah.
Right? For better or for worse.
Yeah.
Right? It was a complete sea change. And out of that, there was a caterer that was set up in the Northern Rockies. They worked a lot of Idaho fires. They used to have catering businesses that would come in.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd have a caterer, commissary. And I remember 1989. Sorry if I bounce around. A lot of memories coming back.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's what these podcasts are for, man.
Yeah. So 1989, there's a group of us from the Kootenai that go down, and it was a bad year. There was a fellow by the name of Kevin Yeager I went to high school with, who in 1989 on a fire near the Loman complex where we'd gone down as a crew, he jumped into a river to catch a little coolness after work and was swept away and died.
Oh, whoa.
And that was 1989. And Kevin was a good kid, young kid. He was, we were 19 at the time.
Oh,
right?
brutal, yeah.
And, at that time, we stayed on the assignment, went to work in the morning, went to the next fire. I did the same thing. Not that we were somehow tougher, superhuman, whatever. It was accepted that you just kept working.
Yeah, I was like, there's a job to do. And
not saying it's a good way to go.
Yeah.
Right? It ain't worth dying over.
No.
Right? But some people are going to die. Some people are going to get seriously injured and not come home the same way or not come home at all, right?
Yeah, dangerous job.
So anyway, the point to this story, other than, remembering the sacrifice of families across over time, which is important to me, right?
Me too. That's part of doing the podcast. I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to add to that,
Absolutely, right? It's the camaraderie and the relationships is everything of why I do, right?
Yeah.
It happens to be in a job that you cannot knock me off. What I said earlier about we are stewards of public spaces, and there's even public space out there. I don't care. I mean, angry citizens, angry county commissioners, politicians, or people, homeowners come and yell at me and berate me out of fear that is now making its way out of their body in anger because they don't want to show me that they're scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
I give them a lot of leash because I understand, one, I work for them, but there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right? There's a bigger picture of what's going on, and so I value that a great deal. So back to the story of around 1989, Loman Complex, and I'd blown out my boots. I had these Red Wings.
Oh, yeah.
I buy these Red Wings, and I could have bought some whites. Whites at that time was the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Drews hadn't speared off. They were all working together in Spokane.
Yeah. Even when I started, kind of same deal. I had Red Wings too, my first year.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you like $300 pair of smoke jumpers, or am I going to get a $90 pair of Red Wings? My dad's like, you get some Red Wings.
Same.
So I blew them out. Whole side blew out. So I got to go to commissary. And this guy hates this story when I tell this story. Because this is a $90 pair of boots. I'm well aware of what these boots are costing me. And they are $250 in commissary. But I got to have them.
Yeah.
They're in enough glass tape to keep me in boots,
Yeah.
right? In this boot that's blown out. So I got to buy him, and I'm not liking this guy at all. And as it turns out, it's Burke Minor and Vicky Minor who founded the Wild Land Firefighter Foundation after seeing the response at Storm King.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I got nothing but love for Burke and Vicky. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing but love. And Dina at the foundation.
Oh, amazing.
You know,
They helped me out.
Yeah, they're great people, right? So
Yeah.
they're the best. So, so now it's 1994, and they in their commissary they design these T-shirts.
Mrs. Burke and Vicky.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're going to raise money because they understand that some of these people were seasonals, right? Families.
Yeah.
And they've been working commissary, making a living off firefighters, and now they're going to give back, right? So they raise $100,000 on these T-shirt sales.
Jeez.
Probably $10 at a time, right? It's a lot.
That's a lot of T-shirts.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But this was such a huge event. This is a nationwide event. This is a nationwide event. This is exactly like, Man Gulch. It was that traumatic.
Yeah.
For the Northern Rockies, especially for the Northern Rockies. And this happened in Region 2. You know, it happened in Grand Junction, Colorado. But it was big everywhere. So everywhere these guys went, they sold the T-shirts. And they raised $100,000. And now they're like, well, who do we even give this to?
Yeah.
How do we give this to? So they talked to, and I don't know which agency. And if I did, I probably wouldn't tell you anyway.
Yeah.
But they gave it to an agency, and they said, here's $100,000. Thank you. What an amazing gesture. Thank you. And then a year later, and I could understand why this would happen because we're not set up to take donations, right?
No.
Come on.
There's no pathway for it even.
Not even a fire camp. You bring cookies in, people are like, I appreciate that. And it's like a hot potato.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Please don't pay me for this. You know, I don't need this. Right?
Yeah, no.
I appreciate it, right? I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, thank you.
We don't take donations well.
Yeah.
Because we're not at all set up for it. So anyway, she
like
goes
you said,
back.
even personally.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Like
got a guy running a chipper wants to take me out to dinner. I'm like, no.
I know I got free coffee in in Sedona. Cause they're like, we appreciate what you do. I'm like, no, I'm getting paid to do this.
Right.
Like I can pay for my coffee. Thank you though.
Let's just go over to the caterer. You get me some coffee. It's kind of a joke. We'll sit down, have some dry eggs, and we'll talk. But no, we're not having a crab feed tonight.
Yeah.
It's your truck.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So anyway, they go back the next year, and they say, well, what's the status of the money? How much of that's gone out? And they say, well, actually, none of it went out. And as a matter of fact, there's X amount of dollars that we've been taking out of it for administrative action to try to figure out what to do with it. And she's standing there like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And again, not throw anybody under the bus. We just don't have a mechanism to do it.
Yeah.
So they decided right there to found the Wild Land Firefighter Foundation. Right there.
That's awesome. I was always wondering.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's the origin story. And there may be more. But for me, what I remember talking to Vicky and Burke, that's why Vicky started it.
Yeah.
So now flash forward a bit. I'd had some brushes with the foundation with a few fatalities between 94 and 2015, but not many.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing prevention work, engine work on pretty quiet forests in the Northern Rockies, you know. So I wasn't on big incidents, a few, not too many. So I wasn't around serious injuries, fatalities. I hadn't been touched by it in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so now we get to 2015 here in the Northern Rockies on Montololo, and things have dramatically picked up every summer, right? From 2000 on, it's every summer.
Yeah.
And we got some serious injuries in 15, fatality in 2016. Justin Beebe coming out of Vermont, Lolo Hot Shots. He's a character hire for the shots.
Yeah.
I never met Justin, but I have now met and have completely fallen in love with his parents, his sister, Jessica. I was just out there.
Oh, really?
We maintained close ties with the family.
Yeah.
Because Justin was a character guy. He was a character hire.
Just
he
like
was a first-year hotshot.
Oh yeah.
First-year firefighter, and he's a hotshot.
Oh really?
Right? Because
Yeah.
he came out west, and wanted to be a hotshot.
Yeah.
Probably read about it. I don't even think he had many friends that were doing it at all. Came off of a maple syrup farm.
I was gonna say, I saw the video of you open up the box that his parents sent.
Yeah.
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 That's really cool.
So he comes out. He's armed with bottles of Vermont maple.
Yeah.
And he's going around to Hot Shot Soups, and he's asking them, hey, I'd like a job. So he meets a new soup, fairly new soup, coming out of the Karkinen years of, Steve Karkinen ran the Lolo shots for years.
LaRoche then.
LaRoche. And then the mantle gets turned over to Fiella,
Yeah.
Sean Fiella. And Fi is a total character guy.
Yeah.
Total character guy. I never met a man more suited for his job than Sean Fiella in my life, right? So Fi hires a kid because he's a character guy. He showed up face to face, the handshake, the whole 9 yards, and the syrup story, right?
Bribing him with syrup, yeah.
So anyhow, that's in a very tragic situation on the Strawberry Fire in Nevada. Justin is killed, and Fi is his family liaison.
Oh man.
So, a little blue envelope with your personal information, right?
Yeah.
Who do you want to notify your family? Is one of the fields. Fi opens up the envelope, and it's him.
Oof.
So he's going to call. So he can do a couple of things. He can either call around and ask about what should I do. No, he just picks up the phone. He gets Betsy, his mom. Betsy is an amazing person. She has hospice training, grief training.
Oh.
She's probably working him on the phone call.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
She said to him, she's like, he's straight up telling him what's happened, right? Mm-hmm. Sacramento shots were there to help retrieve him, get him off the field, and get him back, right? So they're all there, and she tells him, hey, he was exactly where he wanted to be. Who else can say they died with their sisses and bros right around him? He was right where he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Right? Just this amazing reaction, right? So
That's
I got
a great
much
response.
love for the BBs. They're incredible.
Yeah.
Sheldon, Betsy, Jessica. Yeah. So the whole reason I'm even saying it, right, is because that's when I got started fundraising for them, because I saw what they were doing, what the foundation was doing, right? And we want to pay him back.
Yeah.
We want to pay him back.
Totally.
No drag around here, man. This is Region 1. This is the Northern Rockies. We're going to take care of our own. We want to be there too. There's some things we cannot do as an agency, and you're doing it. Well, hey, the least I can do is start some fundraising going on. We now have, we've been doing the Putt and Pull. That's when we started in 2016. Tyler Brothers, actually, T-Bro, had the idea.
Oh, really?
He came to me.
Oh, no way.
And he's like, hey, do you want to be on our team? Type 3 team. Tyler's going to be the IC. You want to be some, operations or something, right? You want to help us run logistics, whatever.
For the foundation, or for the Putt and Pull
for the
fundraiser, I mean?
100% of the proceeds going to the Wild Land Firefighter Foundation. Good cause. Can't think of a better one.
I'm with you, man.
I'm like, you got it. So then T-Bro, I love him, right?
Yeah.
T-Bro the next year, he's like, hey, I got kids. I'm a little busy. Would you take it over? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is our 7th annual event. We've raised $300,000.
Holy cow.
Mostly from local people. 95%. I know everybody. I know where every $20 bill came from.
Yeah.
Average donations $20.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of contacts.
Yeah.
Training center, right? I see 2,000 people a year over there, and just about every one of them gave me $20 bill for a raffle ticket and showed up at our event. Right?
Yeah.
So now, coming full circle, T-Bro's back.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
Back in.
He's back in. He's gonna be running the trap event out there. We do a trap event, teams of 5. We do a golf event, teams of 5. Scramble.
Yeah.
The trap event.
It's like an Annie Oakley after.
We do an Annie Oakley. Pretty fun. I've won it twice.
Have you?
Mr. McEvers is out there. Jeff McEvers.
Yeah.
You better bring it.
Yeah. He's your biggest competition right now?
He's tough.
Yeah.
He's tough. He's steely.
God, he's a jack of all trades at McEvers, you know?
He really is.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a couple other guys. I don't want to single out Jeff and put all the pressure on you, Jeff. I don't want to do that. But,
no, I think we should, though.
You know, it's a great event, you know, and if people are interested in it, they can hit up. We got a brand new website thanks to Matt Jolly.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Matt, I mean, you talk about a guy that his only desire is to keep fatalities from happening. He's a fire modeler. He's a guru. He's the guy, and then he's the guy nationally, really.
That's huge.
And he built us a website, MissoulaPuttandPull.org. It's a great site. Even I can say it. I can remember it.
Yeah.
And if people want to help, man, if you want to come on in, give me 20, give me 200, give me the moon. Come on over. We're having a good time. There'll be hundreds of firefighters that show up for this event.
Yeah.
We culminate the whole thing. You don't have to be a firefighter. You just got to care. You just got to want to help. A great group of people, an organization that pays out 88% of what they take in, which is unheard of for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Your money's well placed. Your support's well placed. We'll be meeting out. We got some great partners at Highlander Brewing, Missoula Brewing Company up there on North Reserve.
Yeah.
Show up April 22nd. It's a great party. It's really one of the only times that I get to see all my sisters and bros in one spot, one night, having fun.
Yep.
Right? We got to close down at like 9, so that's perfect for me being old.
That's gonna say me too,
I'm in
man.
bed by 10.
Yeah, that's what I want to be.
But you know, it's it's a great event. People should come out, if nothing else, for that. I can tell you, the teams fill up fast. We do. We have already. I just announced the dates last week.
Oh yeah, I got today.
12. I got 12 out of 20 teams I can even put on
really?
a golf course are already signed up. So it fills up fast, Mr. Barrett. You can't. You snooze, you
I've been
lose.
sleeping on it. Yeah, I've been
Right?
doing a bunch of other stuff because I was gonna do a lookout podcast team.
And the other one we got to talk about. You know, we're here at Glacier Ice Rink.
Yes, sir.
Down here, and on Saturday, February 4th, right about 6 o'clock, I'll be emceeing the Fire on Ice hockey events.
Dude, you do an amazing job, by the way.
Well, I stand on the shoulders of giants, right? I get set up by the Rogue Swensons of the world.
Yeah.
Fiella's involved.
Yep.
Shannon Vaughn, Jonah Vaughn.
Oh,
Shout out to Jonah Vaughn.
Yeah, Jonah, shout out, man.
You know, that dude, he's Teflon.
Tough as nails, that
Tough
guy.
as nails. Benji's down there, Heg.
Yeah.
Too many people to count. And all, you know, it's an interagency wildland urban interface off.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's so good, man. And the games are great. You know, like the JV game and the varsity game. And man, I had to take off early because my daughter, you know, she was only like 2 months old, and she made the game last year. And so she started getting beyond her bedtime, you know, beyond tired by the second game, and I played in the first game. And the first game competitive, you know, we ended up beating them last year, and then the second game, holy cow, man, it was a battle. I was having a hard time leaving, you know. That's some high end hockey, you know.
Well, you know, I'll be on skates for about a half a second, so I cannot get out on that ice. I'm too top heavy. I have zero core. My wife's always telling me, use your core.
Yeah.
I don't have a core.
Yeah.
You know, it exists, but it's not helpful in any way.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that watching that over the years, you know, the Randy Ocons of the world always had flash and dash. They were always real good. But from the Wild Land Fire, and Randy Ocon, he's a Wild Land firefighter. He is. Randy's career and my career paralleled, you know.
Oh, gotcha.
But those guys on city and rural were good early on.
Oh, yeah.
Better than the Wildlanders, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have flipped the script.
Yeah.
They have flipped the script. Rogue, I mean, everybody, you know, Taylor Blakely is a hard guy to get a puck by.
Oh, he is,
right?
man. Yeah.
He really is. It's probably the best thing he does out of his profession.
Yeah.
And
hockey goalie.
all of a sudden, we're getting pucks past Taylor Blakely. I'm what's going on? So I
Yeah.
get excited. I get excited over there.
Oh, you can hear in your voice. It's great, man.
I don't need the microphone.
No.
It's a good time.
And amazing how back and forth that game was. That's why it was so hard to leave. I was like, oh man, like I gotta get my daughter out of here so she can get some rest, and my wife, but I was like, man, like it was just like goal, like going back and forth for a while there. I was like, man.
So here's a funny story. One year, they got the silent auction items upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And it's a fundraiser. So I go upstairs, and I shoot trap in league. Been doing it for a while, and we have to have a new shooter in our league in order to stay in this handicap league that we win from time to time. And it's not the league where all the old guys, the guys that miss once and throw their shotgun on the ground because their season's ruined.
Yeah.
Right. We stay in this novice league, and sometimes I got to recruit a new shooter every year, so I need a shotgun. Because my new shooters are like, I've never shot before.
Yeah.
It's all right. Come on out. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
So I got to get a shotgun. So I walk upstairs and I see Browning knife shotgun package.
Oh.
And I look at it, and I don't know if you know Chad Pickering. He's
Mm-hmm.
a dear friend of mine. He's also from Libby. He's got 2 boys and a girl, and they're great kids. Thanks to his wife, not thanks to Chad. Right? They're going to grow up great, smart, talented. Thanks to Holly. But so I tell these kids, listen, I got to be down there on the microphone, but I want this. Okay? I want you to come down and tell me every time some scurvy son of a gun writes his name down there with a higher bid than mine. Yes, sir. Okay. So I walk downstairs, and I'm going to go. I figure I can go about $1,000 on this because it's a Browning shotgun.
Yeah.
Right? It's American made. So they come down. CJ, it's at 400, 450. Okay. CJ, it's at 6, 7. Great. CJ, it's at 8, 9.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, but at the end of the fundraiser, I walk upstairs and everybody's shaking my hand. People are coming over to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm like, no problem.
Yeah.
It's a fundraiser. No problem.
Here to give.
No, really. Amazing. Thank you. And I'm like, I walk over to the sheet and I see like 950, and I'm like, what's the big deal? I got a Browning shotgun and a knife for 950. So thanks to the guys at Big Sky Brewing, I got some beers in me. Yeah. I go home and I go to bed. I get up in the morning. Now Sunday morning, I think I'm watching it was the week. I think it might have been the day of the AFC Championship game.
Oh yeah.
So I'm watching a game, and my wife comes downstairs, and I said, "Hey, hand Daddy the shotgun." She hates it because I don't have any children. Yeah. She's like, "Stop that."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, hand me that shotgun over there," and she picks it up, and I don't know what they call it. I'm not a big gun guy, but the little 4-stock that's on the barrel.
That sounds right to me.
Hits the ground, and it tink, 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 tink.
Oh.
It ain't wood. I'm like,
no.
What was that? She said, it's this 4-stock. I said, bring that over here. Browning doesn't make plastic. I pick it up, and it's like, weighs nothing. I'm like, I look at the shotgun.
It's tiny.
And it's like, it doesn't say Browning on it. Oh. It says, it's got this kind of this flourish carved into the, into the metal. And it's like this duck scene, and it says Khan, K-A-H-N, Khan. I'm thinking, this guy Khan, I wonder what he...
Conned.
So I open it up. It's dirty. It's got It's got powder in the barrel. I look. It needs to be cleaned hard.
Yeah.
And I say to my wife, I say, hey, Google Khan shotgun. She goes, it's from Turkey. And can I cuss on this thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
She said, this first rating says it's a piece of shit.
That's a good start.
That's the first one. She goes up. The second one says, don't put this on your shoulder to pull the trigger.
Oh. so you got some quality there.
So I call my first call because I've been hornswoggled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser, but that's why everybody's shaking my hand.
Yeah.
You just gave now $1,000 for a $150 shotgun that should just be put over the mantle.
I was going to say paperweight.
So I call Randy Ocon
Yeah.
at 8:30 in the morning on Sunday. He's had as much Big Sky revelry as I've had.
Yeah, so he's feeling great.
And he picks up the phone, and he's...
No, he already knows?
So, when I tell all my students, when you fail, shout it out from the highest mountaintop, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all going to get you where you got to go anyway. So I
Lessons.
tell that story a lot, and it's always fun. We actually use that shotgun as a bit of a competition. There's several teams that we kind of quote unquote compete with in league, and the losing team, the team that scores the least amount in any given year in trap, on the first week of the next season, we put that con at the center station out there in trap, and whoever rotates through that station has to shoot with that little piece of shit cod.
Oh, man. Oh, brutal. I never even heard of one. Like, I grew up in a hunting family, and my dad duck hunter and stuff, and 870 I think was one of his first shotguns I ever bought. Kind of the go-to, and I'd never even heard of it. Like the cheapest, and not to be mean, but the cheapest shotgun that I've ever seen, and I gotta have one, is a Mossberg. Like the pump is plastic and it's super loose. Like it makes a lot of noise when you rack it.
Right.
Not supposed to. But I'll probably be bringing that to the trap shoot. So it's all
that's the one you want for home protection,
true,
right? I've got I don't know what you call it. I got a brake. It breaks, right?
Oh, yeah, like a double barrel that just
But if someone breaks into my house at 2 a.m., I want a shotgun that racks, like I'm gonna have it by the bed.
Yeah,
no, they're gonna be break a shotgun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Click. Yeah, and then like for me, like they'd hear me fall,
Right.
Figure out where the heck it is, and then they finally start hearing something like try to get racked, and especially with the plastic, I'd be just messing it
I'm
up.
a dead man. Someone wants to come with it, I'm a dead.
Same. Yeah. They just see me falling all over in my closet or somewhere and trying to get in the safe. And
right. Now my wife has a pistol. For you people who I just rung the dinner bell to, my wife does have a pistol. So.
Yeah, man, and I don't know about you, but like my wife is a better shot. I don't like to admit it, and I don't, you put out there in the public, but man, like I bought her a 40, and we went shooting, and then I had my 10 mil. It was like the only thing I had on me at that time, and I was like, big 10 millimeter, and I was like, yeah, feeling good, and it's not crazy recoil, so I couldn't even really blame that. And she just like acing, and we had like you could do almost like a battleship. You ever seen those targets?
Yeah.
And so she's got hers, and I got mine, and she's like nailing the battleship, and I'm just like all over the board, and I'm like, and she still lets me hear it.
My wife grew up. Her father's Jim. He's a strong personality, ex-military, served his country, Vietnam.
Oh.
He was in Idaho National Guard. Very serious man.
Yeah.
Great man. Funny, but serious. Especially when I'm coming around, I'm dating his daughter, right? I won't tell the story of how I asked him if I could ask her. I wanted his blessing.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of an old school guy that way. I'm only going to hopefully do this one time.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And anyway, she grew up shooting with Jim. Jim's a pistol shooter. He shoots anything a lot, right? Big target shooter, great techniques.
Yeah.
So my wife has a 38 that her dad gave her right about the time we got married, ostensibly for home protection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he made a big deal of it. I'm giving Rachel this 38.
Letting you
this
know.
long stare.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. All right, Jim.
Watch your P's and Q's.
Right. Okay. So we take this thing out, and I have a little family cabin in northwest Montana, Bull Lake, up there by Troy.
Yeah.
And we got there's a little highway department place we can go shoot. We set up some cans,
Yeah. Beautiful area.
10 yards, something. And I got this 38 with Jim's loads.
Oh.
And so I take it out there, and I did not grow up a shooter. Matter of fact, the first time my dad took me hunting, I purposefully shot over the top of the deer so I could say, I can't do this. Can we please go home?
Yeah.
And so I did not grow up an avid shooter at all, right?
It's good tactic though,
Yeah,
like
right.
Missed. I can't seem to make this thing work.
Oh, I was terrible. I was a challenging kid. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm trying to shoot these Coke cans, and I can't hit anything. I get 10 feet, can't hit it. And I'm like, did your father load blanks into this gun?
Yeah.
And she grabs it and starts tinging them off.
Oh,
There's nothing
man.
wrong with the gun, Smiley.
Oh.
You know, it's aptitude. This is aptitude. You got an eye problem.
Yeah, like I may need some glasses. I think those first loads we're not live rounds here. You know, like
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, it's tough. I don't like they say too like females have the fine motor. Like better dexterity in the fine motor, so like their trigger pulls smoother. Which I mean, I guess I feel like I'm living proof of. And
well, listen, women do everything better than men. If I had a crew of 20 women, I'd go invade Canada right now.
Yeah,
I would. Women firefighters, they often don't come with the same bad habits that their male counterparts do. They pay attention. They change their behavior. They do what they say they're going to do.
True.
They don't have some other agenda. I don't create a broad swath by gender. But in my career, overall, give me 20 women on a fire crew, and we're going to make some hay, dude.
Yeah.
We're going to make some hay.
And as you know, living with your wife, and me living with mine, like that, and I remember in anatomy, maybe in high school, they talked about how like men chemically or whatever genetically can't multitask. It's just we can fake it kind of, but women can actually do two things at once and have their brain work on two things at once.
That's right.
And then once you live with a female, you're like, oh yeah, here it is. And and you can see the frustration too.
Yeah,
she's like, what, she's taking all these tasks and I'm still like poking away at whatever I'm trying to do at the house. And she's like, what are you doing over here? I'm like,
it's the ego thing too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know many women with an ego. I know a lot of guys with an ego.
True.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the one of the best firefighters I ever had, there were two of them. Mabel Bido, went up on the Kootenai, just tough as nails. Take a big dip. She took a big chew dip.
Yeah.
Mabel, boy. Throw a Pulaski. She was a motor. And Janice Erickson. Both of them worked on the Kootenai with me.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah. Well, then those Kootenai gals too, man. One of my best buddies is married to another one of my good friends, who's Tina McClendon from the Kootenai, and she's just this tiny little, barely weighs over 100 pounds, but can run a saw all day like a 44, like a big saw, and throw in a horseshoe of a dip, and then just make all the dudes, feel less about themselves. You're like, holy cow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then she'll come by as you're like trying to work over like some bear grass or a stump, and she'll be like, why don't you hit with your purse or something? Like, you're like,
take a swipe at that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to push your purse down and really hit that thing, and I'm like,
the term golden spike.
Like from the railroad, right?
Well, the golden spike on Fireline.
Oh, maybe not.
So this is an old thing that came up. Maybe it's gone. I don't know. I hope it's not gone. Maybe we'll resurrect it right here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you get a young firefighter on the line, digging line, for hours, maybe, right? Maybe your line even got compromised. You got to go rebuild, but you're digging that IA, day 2, day 3. Yeah, by day 5 and 6, maybe you're not pounding much ground anymore. Yeah. But there's those nights where it's 2 a.m. We're going to stay out here a little bit longer, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so you're about to accomplish your line. You're about to bring the flanks in, and there's a little bit left. And the golden spike is reserved for the individual, either the rookie you want to prop up, or for the person who's been the most positive attitude, right?
Yeah.
But what you do is you carve out very carefully a strip, like a soul patch in the line.
Yeah,
there's one more take.
Yeah.
And it's one swipe. It's one stroke. This needs to come out cleanly with a Pulaski with one stroke.
Ah.
And you get it, rookie.
Yeah.
You get the golden spike. And I would advise you to go sharpen that tool real good, because you're going to get one shot at this.
Yeah.
And that was a golden spike. We used to do that. And I don't know where that started, but we were religious about it when we had to put line in. And we taught our young kids right away, our rookies up there, even on a single tree. We were the kind of crew, the kind of force at that point where we were, we were cheesing on it. We were having a good time
Yeah.
about our fire line, to the point where we'd try to put fire line around where the snag's going to be when I drop it.
Oh, really?
And drop it in that line.
There's confidence there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And so the golden spike. We got to reintroduce
Yeah.
the golden spike to the new generation. Save the golden spike. Make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be doesn't have to be something fancy. You will watch people. You'll have the best edge on that hoe you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, I bet, because most people just kind of neglect that side, The
You gotta
pretty
get it.
side is the axe side,
Yeah, you got to get it.
Makes sense, though. And like you said, those little things are really what kind of builds the chemistry and keeps the spirits at the morale boosters, Like,
Yeah, retention and recruitment.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's all about.
Totally.
It's tough. I was 12. Like I say, 12 years. I was a seasonal out of my choice.
Same.
Right.
Kind of.
And I was in a different frame of mind back then. I think of the opportunity lost when, in 1996, Dick Rath over on the Gallatin National Forest, before it was the Custer Gallatin, sat me down as a GS 5 1039 and said, do you want to tour? I'll get you a job right now. And I'm like, nah, Dick, I'm going to go in the teach, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I didn't get my permanent position until 2002, which would have been, 14 years after I started in Wild Land Fire. That's 14 years of not having the power of accrued interest,
Yeah.
right? Of compounding interest
Yeah.
and savings all those years. So,
I'm in the same boat. It's the same deal. Because perm fives weren't a thing, and people weren't leaving the sixes.
well, let me tell you it's another story.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a crew boss class, S230. DNRC is the lead. It was Nick Isaac, I believe, was my lead instructor. And somebody asked me about their TSP, their thrift savings plan.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you have? What do you select? What account do you select?
Yeah.
And I told them, and they said, well, as the conversation went on, as I was talking about matching funds, they didn't understand what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because the government will match, right? There's an automatic 1%. The government will match up to, I believe it's 3%, but you got to put in
Yeah.
for the match. And he's not giving me any indication
That he knows.
that he's understanding what this match is. So I said, come here, man. We're going to go to the whiteboard for a minute. And his eyes are popping open. And he's been in it 6 years, and he's contributed nothing.
Oh, no.
He says, the government's putting in 4. I'm like, no, they're not. And I didn't blame him.
Yeah.
I'm like, who supervises you? Who's in charge of you?
Yeah, because that's who should be
That's who
getting
I
info.
want to talk to right now.
Yeah.
Before we do anything else. And so in that session, I said, well, we're going to start something new here. We're going to start lunch with CJ.
Oh.
And if you want to come in here at lunch, we're going to talk about the power of compounding interest.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about financial planning. We're going to talk about this stuff. Having a financial conversation with your partner. We're going to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, smart.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought a couple people were going to be there. They were all there.
Oh, really?
Pens out, daggers out.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What do we got going? And so here's what I was telling that story is there is, and I'm glad we have a chance to talk about that. I'm glad this came to the forefront of my mind. We have the Employee Assistance Program in the federal agencies. Someone you can call if you're having a bad day, a bad streak, right? You don't feel like your life is worth much. You don't feel like there's a lot of hope, right? Some people, well, there's an EAP phone number. Some people throw that out. They're like, sure it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. I appreciate that. And I know it's underused because I've seen the numbers of employees we have and the numbers of people who call. It's not a hard calculus to put the 2 and 2 together that people aren't using it the way they should.
Yeah.
However, with the same contractor, you can get financial counseling. You can get legal advice at no cost to you.
I think I knew about the legal, but I didn't think I knew about the financial.
So yeah, so I call. I'm about 2 of these CJ lunch sessions in.
Yeah.
Somebody says, "Hey, what are you, fiduciary?" I'm like, no, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn. They're like, hey, well, listen,
I know my stuff.
you may not want to be known for the guy that's giving legal advice. Maybe you give the wrong advice or the right financial advice. Maybe you give the wrong advice. I'm like, okay, touche.
Yeah.
Because I know what I like to do, but, who am I?
Yeah.
So I call EAP, and I call them fairly regularly for never own a cabin with other people, right?
Yeah.
So I got to know from a legal standpoint, what's my exposure here if one of my uncles goes rogue and tries to sell this place, right, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I get this free legal advice from EAP, an EAP counselor. He puts me in touch with the local attorney who is in, and I get 3 free sessions of a half an hour with an attorney.
Oh, that's awesome.
That would normally cost you X amount of hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah, an hour or whatever.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I call him up and I say, do you guys go on the road? Well, sure. You got to pay for it. I'm like, how much? Oh, it's about $180 for a 2-day session to have a financial counselor come down and talk to any number of people you want.
Oh.
I said, great. What are you doing next week?
Yeah. Can I book you?
And we did.
Yeah.
We booked them. And we said, okay, we announced it to the force. We said, hey, these are the 20 classes, 20 one-hour classes that they put on. How to talk to your spouse about creating a budget or having a financial discussion. How do you pay off a house as a young family? How do you save to go to school? How do you get a credit score and buy? We get in retirement planning.
Yeah, smart.
Right, all these classes, and we put out a little poll. So, what do you want to learn about? And we made a seminar out of it. People could sign up and come down, and it was packed. Every session was packed. And at the end of the reason I'm saying this is because it's good to get financial advice and it's good to get legal advice, but you need everybody could use a little mental health in their life.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
You get down a path. We're creatures of habit, right? You get down the wrong rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Or you get with maybe a wrong crowd, or you pick up some really destructive habits, or maybe you're just a good person and you get laid off every year and you start to get tired of it.
Yeah.
Like I did.
Yeah.
And you start to get down and you're alone now in the winter.
Yep.
You're not broken. You're reacting exactly the way you ought to be reacting as a healthy human being.
Yeah.
These are stressors. These are real deals. These
Yeah.
aren't fabricated and fake, and you are not broken.
Yeah.
You are not flawed. If you weren't having this reaction, I'd be concerned about what alien race dropped you off here.
Yeah, if you kind of numb to those stressors,
Exactly. So at the end of all these sessions with EAP, I said, "Did you guys get a lot out of that?" "Yes, sir. We sure did." "Great. You know what else these guys do?" Right? Call the number.
Yeah.
Call the number. You like the free advice you just got? You might get some free advice at a time you might need it. Maybe before you need it. You don't got to be broken. You don't got to be having a bad day to call somebody to talk about your mental health.
And
right?
especially this time of year, like the other day at work, they were just talking, just talking to folks, and we're all just, around the water cooler, per se, and it's just like seasonal depression stuff, and
absolutely
talking, and most of it was like from someone's spouse was like, man, I've just been, not even like feeling down, but just like, man, I've had low energy. It's like, well, when's the last time you saw the sun? Like there's that, and then with the fire, I think it compounds. I mean, everyone feels it, so maybe it's just me thinking it compounds in the fire world, but it feels like it does. And I talked about this a few episodes ago with a hotshot who was like, you go 100 miles an hour, told where to be, when to be, what to eat, pretty much, all summer long with the hotshot crew, and then all of a sudden you're cut loose. And if you don't have a hobby to fall back onto, and like you said, all financial stresses and all this stuff starts all of a sudden is at your doorstep like overnight, and it's like all this real world stuff hits you where you're kind of insulated when especially in a crew, because you're not really worried about anything financial. You just like show up and do the job, and you're with this awesome group of people typically, like girls and gals, guys and gals that are just like some of the funniest, most outgoing folks ever, and then you get separated from them, because you're not showing up at the same place to see them every day, and everyone else kind of, scatters. Typical firefighter stuff,
Yeah, which is entirely normal.
Yeah.
Right? And the reaction you have to that is all normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
so it's almost like a breakup or something,
yeah.
You're like, oh.
I have read, we are experiencing right now, as you know, and a lot of emergency service employees and public employees are killing themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And military people who serve, right? We're public service. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Foundationally, right? And I don't know what gets any individual to that point, but I do know that there is no hope for the future there in their mind, right? There's no. The world is better off for whatever reason with me leaving it.
Yeah.
I've even seen a note from an individual who committed suicide on the day of his wife's birthday, left an upbeat note to say, "We'll be taken care of financially. My pension will transfer to you." It was an upbeat note. As she was reading this we have a class called "You Will Not Stand Alone," and we ask people to share their stories. You know, Betsy Beebe, the story of Betsy Beebe and Sean Fiella calling Betsy on the day of her son's death was presented at the a hotel here in Missoula during a "You Will Not Stand Alone" session.
Oh, really?
A very powerful session.
That's
right?
powerful.
To turn the light on a subject that people would feel uncomfortable with. For whatever reason, we're going to shine the light on discomfort.
Yeah.
Right? Because your discomfort that you're feeling is a normal reaction.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to get help because they feel they're not worth it. I'm broken anyway. What's the point? Right? Well, if you realize that what you're experiencing is actually quite normal, that seasonal affective disorder is quite normal, and your reaction is too, well, then maybe if you can talk about it, if you can just take an initial step, right? Maybe it's a phone call, and it's not something that can be fixed in one session.
No.
You know, it takes time.
Yep.
But the thing is, nobody's broken about it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is like you stub your toe hurts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
There's nothing different. And I agree with you just when you say it can be augmented in a wildland fire service or a first responding, because we're the solution to this problem when we show up on an incident, right?
Yeah.
That's what I give people, I'm a operations section chief, and I operate on a type 1 team, and I'm in over my head most times. I'll be quite honest with you. There's a reason I was in training, Mr. Barrett, because that old saying about those who can't do teach has a kernel of truth.
Yeah.
Right? So when I show up to these very large incidents, we were on one a couple of years ago that was in 2 states, 5 counties, like I don't know how many people evacuated, towns destroyed. I'm driving through destroyed towns in Oregon to get there. And I'm like, I'm driving through this to get to mine.
Yeah. It's getting worse.
So I show up, and I usually let people, when they're briefing me, I appreciate their briefings. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who is on the Type 3 organization or whatever telling me everything they did. I appreciate it. I appreciate the county commissioner telling me everything's gone to hell. I appreciate the district ranger who tells me, please don't fry my relationships around here with what you do. I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bad situation. And I know that you're going to want to try to guide me all the way through this incident and tell me this and tell me to do that and tell me this. And I will simply tell people when I walk in, I say, I only want to know one thing, Mr. Barrett. I say, right now, all I need to know is, what are your values at risk, and where have your fires burned here in the last 5 years? Because I won't have to pay attention to that flank as carefully.
Yeah.
That's really all I need from you right now, and then I need a flight.
Yeah.
Right.
Take a look at things and
I
see.
appreciate it. Can we end this meeting?
Yeah.
It's midnight. I have to start this at 5:30.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Well, and you know that time of the night too, like just the way human brains are getting tired, so you start kind of looping a little bit, even though they're trying to give you more information, but you're still kind of getting this almost a repeater treatment, and then, like you said, until you can get some eyes on it, like I hear what you're saying, but I really got to get my eyes on to see what's actually happening out there.
There's nothing worse in what we do than every night driving away from a community that's threatened, because we got to go sleep. Right?
Yeah.
There's 2 engines maybe that are going to be out there for night shift if I can spare them, and I'm driving away from a community. I'm driving away from a community outside of Sacramento. They're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm not a robot.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to go."
Yeah.
What are we going to do? take care of your stuff. I would advise you to evacuate. I hope your house has defensible space, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing else I can do for you. And that is the worst feeling, driving away from that every single night. It's got to end.
It's got to wear on you,
It's
too.
got to end. It does wear on you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So like you say, when we go back to you think it might be augmented in Wild Land Fire, I'm 100% agree with you. I was on a hotshot crew once on the Lewis and Clark because it was a developmental crew at the time. I don't know if they're still considering it a developmental crew.
Yeah.
But they would take guys like me, not in shape. I swing at blasting for 20 minutes. I feel like I've accomplished a lifetime.
That's how I would feel right now.
Oh my
yeah.
God. Can I please have the saw?
Yeah,
Can I
exactly.
swamp for somebody?
Yeah.
This is murder. You people are crazy. You
Man,
know,
my hands would be bleeding right now,
you go from 90 miles an hour to 0. Yeah.
Yeah.
You say, man, it ain't easy. It is not easy. It's unnatural.
It really,
Right?
yeah, it really is.
It is.
Yeah, and then too on the chemical level, like we're creatures that run on vitamin D and through sunlight, and the seasons usually the reason why is the days are getting shorter. Getting rain, getting more overcast days. Usually, is typically when the season ends. So it's like not only are you all of a sudden like getting cut from your team, your wolf pack, but then you're not getting more sunlight to like help augment like your feelings, and if you don't take a trip or something, so like everything is it's like kind of almost like the dying time of year in fall too. Like leaves are falling off, and the change. But yeah, so it's a tough time of year.
And you throw in, I believe, I'm a little bit old school. I get on Facebook once a year to say thank you to the 5 people that wish me happy birthday.
Yeah.
Right. Which is fine.
Yeah.
I prefer my interactions to be face to face. I'm not a phone guy. Anybody that knows me knows that you call my phone, it's probably going to go to voicemail unless I know you really well. And I don't like to, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm a very busy individual.
You're one of the busy people I know. And
so I'm going to take the message and I'm going to get back to you right now, but I'm going to compartmentalize you right now.
Yeah.
I'll take your message and I will get back to you and I will help you.
Yeah.
But right now,
Proof.
So people always it always goes to your voicemail. I said, it's intentional. I'll tell you why. I tell them the same thing. Don't feel slighted by that. Don't feel like I'm downgrading my relationship with you. But right now, this is the way I run my life. This is how it runs.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I do. I got a lot of irons and a lot of pots of my own volition and choosing.
Absolutely.
But just don't take offense to it is what I tell people. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's a good tool though, like to say that, because I've experienced that in my own life now. Family or whoever might be calling, but I've got this, I've got work, I've got a family, and like especially with a baby, it's like there's a lot going on, and I don't want to like sacrifice any time with her. Like when she takes a nap, I'll call you back, but when she's awake, she's getting all my attention, So, but I felt bad about it. I felt guilty about it, like doing the voicemail thing.
Yeah.
So hearing that helps me out, I guess. So hopefully that helps other people out too,
And so the last thing I would say, the last thing that your comment drove in me about being detached from your agency, and I tell you what, detached, that's a euphemism, right? When you're a seasonal employee, you are no longer a federal employee, right?
Yeah.
For that time, you're laid off essentially.
Yeah. No tether really to the agency, and
right.
No
way to run a railroad, right? When my nieces and nephews, I don't have any children. Your daughter will probably change her career multiple times.
Yeah.
If you told me next month you're fired and you need to go another career, I wouldn't sleep. I'm a one career guy.
Yeah.
I am. I've happened to find one that I enjoy because my dad did it, and I admire my dad, and I saw those people, that family brought me in. I get it. I bleed green.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a bigger advocate for a somewhat flawed agency, right? It's got flaws and their own peccadillos.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find a stronger advocate for what we do, because I know how to make it so.
Yep.
I know how to run my business in the federal government to be positive, to be a positive force for change and a steward to the landscape.
Yeah.
And I also know that I don't have to spend any more time than I absolutely have to on an initiative that does not further that outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
Knowing that, having that boundary.
Right. Some people call that a deep state.
Yeah.
Right? That I'm the deep state.
Yeah.
I'm just a man doing his job.
Yeah.
Okay? You call me the deep state if you want. Is it hard to move me? Am I like an aircraft carrier? When I say me, the agency? Yeah, a bit. Yeah. Maybe that's good.
Yeah.
Right? For a new administration that might come in every 4 years, maybe it's good to have a little bit of continuity for the U.S. taxpayer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And not blow with the wind of the next the next administration that comes through. All due respect.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense because, like, right now we're building a workforce, right? We're hiring positions that either haven't existed or haven't been filled in forever. At least we're trying to right now. And I was talking to T-Bro about that just yesterday, and it's like, so we get our feet underneath us with that. These positions are still getting their feet underneath them, and then when we finally get to a point where it can move, where the agency can move and do like these big fuels reduction projects and stuff, working with the Wild Turkey Foundation or Federation, and then all of a sudden, like you said, a new political person gets in the office. Like right now, we're got Democrat, all of a sudden Republican comes in, whatever happens, and decides like they don't like the direction or the funding gets pulled out, and all of a sudden, like, we got these projects and we get it all ready, all the people are in order, like everything's ready and set to attack, and then all of a sudden it gets the carpet gets pulled out.
Yeah. So it's up to the agency and leadership to lessen the impact of that transition. Right? That's their job.
Yeah.
That's what a supervisor's job is to lessen the impact of a changing tide on their workforce.
Yeah.
To try to keep their workforce moving in the direction they know they need to be going, despite the slings and arrows of some new policy initiative, some innovation, with all the best of intentions, right? In many cases, sometimes not.
Yeah.
But that's what a supervisor's job is, and that's what an agency's job is to understand what Gifford Pinchot said all those years ago, what the intent of our agency is, and that's taking care of public lands for present and future generations to make sure it's productive, it's healthy, and resilient, despite the turns and twists, the barriers. There's always an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
It may be a little further from your grasp right now, but that's where we all got to go.
Yeah.
And that's what we all got to do. And I will say that I will go one more. I come from a community where the federal government is the F word.
Yeah,
it is.
There's a few folks around my hometown too.
My great-great-grandfather was Julius Niels, and he owned and operated a lumber mill in Libby for a long time.
Yeah.
They sold out. They bought it in the teens after they had logged over Minnesota.
Oh.
They had to leave because they logged themselves out of a job.
Oh, gotcha.
And they knew it. Right?
Yeah.
So they came over to northwest Montana. They see this is a tremendous place for growing trees. There ain't a place that grows trees outside of the southeast U.S. I'm sorry, you big ringers down there.
Yeah.
I can use that maybe for bad stud lumber. You want good beams. You want good wood. You want the white pine that built the West.
Yeah.
Come up here.
Bad ringers.
Right.
What's bad ringers?
Big ringers.
Oh, so, big ringers. Oh, big ringers.
They got the growth rings that are
an
inch high. The tree isn't strong.
Yeah.
It grows fast, right? But it's pulp.
Yeah, yeah. Right? I got the thick ring. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
These big ringers.
Yeah. I like that.
Because they always talk about the board feet that they produce. Well, sure.
Yeah.
You're chipping.
Mm-hmm.
You're producing chips. No offense.
Making your paper.
But a little offense.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But my point is, right, I'm up there. I'm a lamb in the wilderness, right? I'm the Forest Service guy who walks into the meeting of all these guys that knew my great-granddad, my granddad who ran the plywood plant, old school guys who were politically compassionate conservatives. There was a fellow by the name of Jack Kemp back in the day. Never really got a start, never really got a foothold in U.S. politics, but he believed that every citizen ought to have an opportunity, right?
Yeah. And
that government should be limited. You should protect your citizens with a military, right? You should protect your citizens and help your citizens up with a natural disaster. You should collect taxes to do that, but you shouldn't get overboard.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain things you shouldn't do. They weren't big fans of things like the Department of Education. They weren't big fans of the Department of Labor. But they certainly weren't burn it all down.
Yeah.
Right? And some of that politics has made its way into Idaho, Montana, Oregon. And I have respect for anybody's political perspective.
Yeah.
Right? You're free to live your life.
Yeah, part of the freedom, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. But on the point of funding, right? Our funding. I'm speaking specifically to National Forest System land funding. I can't speak for other agencies, but it's about the same.
Yeah.
I tell people in the community who say, you're wasting my money, you're a waste of money. I say, where do you think the money has gone? It's gone into this community. It's sent your kids to school.
Yeah.
It's got them to college. It's got them. The money that I take in my budget, where do you think it goes?
Yeah.
I don't keep it. As a matter of fact, if I don't spend it, it goes back to the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
Right?
And then it gets thrown somewhere else.
It goes into this community.
Yeah.
That's where it's going. Your hard-earned tax dollars. And I believe you me, I pay taxes too.
Yeah.
We all pay taxes. We should pay taxes. We should contribute. And if there is a deduction you can take, take it.
Yeah.
But to me, if you do something screwy in your taxes and you're hiding your money, shame on you.
Yeah, I agree.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Right? That is not a something to be touted as I am so smart and clever. To me, you're not pulling your own weight.
Yeah.
And that is a compassionate conservative. That's what I am.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody's going to get an opportunity. And I'll be damned if I'm going to stand in somebody's way, anybody's way.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Yeah.
I am going to be there to provide a hand up should one be asked for. Period.
Yeah.
Right? That's my job. To those who have much, much is expected. That came from a Democratic president.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good line.
It is.
Yeah, like, because typically those people have much, have good resources, maybe a little higher IQ possibly, whatever it might be that got them to where they're at. So they have more to give, I guess, would be kind of way to say, like, someone super intelligent like Howard Hughes or something, who could build the Spruce Goose. It's like Elon Musk, all these big brains. It's like you have a lot to expect out of those because they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's along the lines of what you were saying. It just kind of where my brain went. Yeah,
that's precisely what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah.
It ain't about hoarding it.
Yeah.
Gathering me and mine. That ain't it. If that's it, if that's the goal, we'll start carving it out now.
Yeah.
Start building your wall.
Yep.
And maybe someday late in your life, when you're trying to take account and stock of everything, and you maybe got 2 or 3 people who are looking at the money that you saved and they're trying to get it out of you because you're now dying. If that's the measure of your life, I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry for you at that time because I understand how perspective changes as you get older. I'm getting an inkling of that, right?
Yeah.
What is the measure of your life? Is it what you manage to stack up in your backyard?
Yeah.
I highly doubt it.
No.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, it's the stories. It's how people remember you, and like for you too. And I meant to start this off with this, and you can see that this compassion comes out even the way you teach. Like I said, the first class, and I meant to say this when we were talking about the first class I took from you. I come in and you have, like you said, like the all-star cadre. Like I think Fiala might have been teaching, and Zenner, was helping out too, and so all these like studs that are just great instructors and have walked the walk and can talk the talk.
And thoughtful, empathetic.
Yep,
right?
And understand, especially a little district guy like me from small town Whitehall, like haven't been on too many big fires at this point. So I'm like, oh man, I'm in over my head, like you were saying earlier. But like as soon as everyone gets in the class, you have a pretty good intro. You have a really good intro, and gets everybody kind of bought in a little bit. And then you're like, here's my number. Make sure you get your phones out. Put my number in your phone. You need anything, call me first. Whether it's tonight, like you're in jail or whatever happens, make me sure I'm your first phone call, and we'll figure something out.
Right. I'm not going to come bust you out of jail.
Yeah.
But at least I don't have to count for you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you tell that jailer behind you that I need to call my wife now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
I can call somebody else to come get me
But
back.
I appreciate that because
Yeah.
that's exactly the message that I wanted to send.
It comes across,
Because I want to give everyone in that room and everyone that I've ever worked around the same opportunity to do what I did because it is fulfilling what I'm doing. How many careers can you look back on and say, as you drive up through, I can drive through most valleys in the western United States, and I've been in them.
Yeah.
Right? And I had some impact in those, and that's it. There was no ulterior motive other than that.
Yeah.
And how many careers can you say that? I have never screwed someone over financially.
Yeah.
I've never put someone else's or put my own interest in front of someone else's in a transaction. Not one time.
Yeah.
Right? And hey, listen, if you made your money in the private industry, fine, good on you.
Yeah.
Right? What'd you do with it?
That's the question, right?
What'd you do with it? I'll tell you what I make. I will never make 6 figures in an annual salary. Maybe. And I understand that. Could I be in the private sector somewhere? I went to law school for about. I went to U of M.
Oh, really?
Actually, I should take that back. I went to my grades were not good. I got 2 valedictorian brothers.
Oh.
And I was not.
No, yeah.
I left Montana State University my first year with a 1.25 GPA.
That's kind of how I started out too.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Same.
So, I get into this. They wanted to have a runoff to get in-state students into law school because they were taking a lot of out-of-state students, and they wanted to say this. Hey, this is a land-grant institution, by the way.
Yeah.
So we got to get some Montana kids in here. And in a very cutthroat environment, in law school, at least in the first year, it's all I can speak to, is you read cases, you discuss the law, and then there's a case law, right? So there's the law as it was written, this is illegal, but then there's case law. So you clarify, well, there's some exceptions over here. This is how it was adjudicated in this case. So you have to know the appropriate case law, not just the law, right? It's not good enough to just be reading the U.S. Code or the Montana Code annotated.
Yeah.
You have to understand how it's been adjudicated in the court.
So many layers, and not just black and white.
A lot of information.
Yeah.
That's just a class. You got to do it for multiple classes, right?
Oof. Yeah.
So it's you have to read these cases, and there's not enough time in the world for any one person to do that effectively, right?
Yeah.
You got to team up. And so this is what happened. I hosted a Sunday afternoon pizza party where we would all come together, all the Montana, a lot of them, eight or 9.
Yeah.
And I would read 2 cases, you'd read 2, and we present to each other, because in my opinion, the best way to, it's not my opinion, this is scientific fact. If you want to know something, the best way to know it is to learn it well enough to teach it.
Yeah.
Once you teach it, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the pinnacle. It really is. And that's scientifically proven.
Yeah.
So this was working for a while. It was working for a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden, these guys would come over and they'd say, I really didn't have time to read that. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I have nothing to contribute. And I'd appreciate that, right? But then we get into class, and when the professor's asking the questions in a very heated environment, right, want to know if you've done your work, because I don't have time for people who do not, right?
Yeah.
You are going to separate the wheat from the chaff very quickly in that kind of pressurized instructional environment.
Yeah.
And the guys that looked me in the eye on Sunday and tell me they hadn't read it were spouting off the right case Monday morning.
Oh.
They indeed had read it.
Well,
but it was not to their benefit. A rising tide does not lift all boats when only 2 of you are going to be selected.
So they're sandbagging you on the weekend.
So understanding that was the case, I thought to myself, do I want to be surrounded by these people in a professional atmosphere?
Bunch of sharks.
And my decision was a resounding no.
Yeah.
That I do not want to spend the rest of my days. I may get a place on Flathead Lake. I might have someone else cutting my grass.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to enjoy it.
No.
At any level.
And the time, too, right? You see, like, people who are invested in that. It seems like you're on the weekends, you're cramming through files and stuff. And
whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and sit out there eating your cherries in your Flathead cherry orchard, Like
I'd rather go to a column in Southern Oregon with 6 communities and dire straits.
Yeah.
Because back to that story about going to some nut cutter of an incident somewhere as a Type 1 team, as a brand new, fairly good operations section chief Type 2, already qualification-wise over my head.
Yeah.
Experience-wise, I'm always over my head, right? I'm fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's the name of the game.
Keep it simple, right?
Yep.
The last thing I will tell the citizenry as I go, I do not tell them this on day 1, 2, 3, or 4. I tell them on day 14. I'll say it to the community of Lolo. I say it to the community of Seeley Lake. I say it to the community of Bend, Sacramento, San Diego, all these places where I've been on these big fires, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of my assignment, I will say, listen, you have an opportunity. The reason I asked for where these fires are for the last 5 years and how they burned intensely or not is because right now you are surrounded by a landscape that Mother Nature has hit a reset button on. Okay?
Yeah.
You saw how ineffectual we were at stopping it where we wanted to, right? You have an opportunity to engage with your public land management agency to maintain it, to keep it in a resilient form, given the facts of climate change and the changing vegetative opportunities, given a drier, warmer, maybe flash flooded from time to time environment. You have that opportunity right now. So it might look like it's all desolation, but a renewal agent has just come through here, and you have an opportunity right now. We have machinery these days. We have funding. We have boots on the ground. We have scientific research. And we got now a bunch of people in here who better be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't, you are missing the boat. And I'm leaving.
Yep.
So have a good day.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I leave those incidents. And I'm very truthful. I'm very honest. I can be extremely honest in those situations. That's the best thing about incident management. I'm going to be extremely honest with you.
Yeah. That's a really good point too, you know, like, and if you don't want to ask those questions and figure out how to prevent this in the future and talk about like how we're going to, you know, treat the forest going forward with the given conditions, like you said, global warming and longer fire seasons, hotter, drier, all that good stuff, what comes along with global warming, then we continue having these large fires. But if you want to talk to the experts, like you said, being there and give you ideas of how to support your public, you know, land, you know, Forest Service, BLM, whatever it might be, you know, DNRC,
absolutely,
and help encourage those treatments instead of litigating every time, you know, a fuels treatment gets proposed or whatever it might be. And then, like, I think people haven't lived in an area where, like around Whitehall, where I'm from, where it's lodgepole and it's just jackstraw because it hasn't seen fire in over like 100 years, and some of the spots are, you know, somewhere around there. And so you can't walk through it. Animals aren't living in it because they can't move through it either, and it's just so unhealthy. But then once it gets treatment, and then you can go enjoy the forest more. It's way prettier, you know.
You know, but there is a simple fact that you can't get away from, is we can mechanically treat X amount, but Mother Nature's going to do the treatment that it's always done.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And I would say, you know, you bring up the question of litigation. All perspectives matter. All perspectives should be heard by the government.
Absolutely.
Who represents them all, right?
Yep.
The left needs the right. Listen, have I been hamstrung by legislation? Yes. Have I been hamstrung by a court finding? Right? Litigation? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But we ought to be stewards, right? And it's not stewards for one group of people. It's stewards for everybody.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we do. And I don't try to get around it. I don't try to evade responsibilities. I don't try to evade legislation or litigation. Confront it. This is what I have. These are the tools that I have. How can I find my way through to where I know I got to go?
Yeah.
That's it. That's my job. It's not to rail and fight and complain. I'm going to find my way through another wall in the maze.
Yeah.
Knowing where I'm going. I'm pointed due north, right?
Yeah.
I just got to keep going that way. I may have to veer this way, veer that way, but I know where I'm going.
Yep.
And the science tells me where I'm going. You know, my internal cooperators, my internal specialists, they tell me where I need to go. I appreciate the perspective of a plumber, but I don't go to some plumber and tell him how to screw his pipes together.
Yeah.
I don't go sit underneath somebody who's doing roofing and say, I think you're doing that wrong.
Yeah. Does
right?
shingle really go there?
I got people telling me I don't know how to fight fire, that if I just had a little more courage and a little more capacity or whatever, competency, I'd be doing better on their landscape.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah. Absolutely.
But for me, I wouldn't dream of telling another professional how to do their job.
Absolutely.
Right? And I told you earlier, I believe that person coming to me is actually frightened.
Yep.
But they can't show me fear. They got to show me the only thing they can right now. It's going to translate into anger.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah. And being powered with that information like you had, and I think maybe you told me that, or I think I kind of had the same thing. So like I always just like, hey, understand, like you're scared. I don't say that, but in my head I'm thinking like I get it, you're scared, and this is intense. And a lot of times it could be that person's first experience with this kind of fire, where it's guys like us or guys and gals like us who came up in it. Pretty normal now, to be around big angry fire,
right. And that home represents their life's financial accomplishments, right?
Yeah.
It's their life right there. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It is not lost on me. I'm not shining your shoes.
Yeah.
I'm not telling what you want to hear, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you my perspective. I'll tell you everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is all above board. I got nothing to hide from you. The guy says, yeah, I'm paying your salary. You are.
Yeah.
However, the 15 cents you maybe contributed to my salary over your lifetime just ended. Now you get to listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
With all due respect. And then I start to talk about what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're doing what we can. And what do you think about when people say, fire's natural disaster most of the time, lightning strike, whatever, and it's something that we are trying to help stop or prevent.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people compare it to like natural disasters and like hurricanes and tornado. And our discussion I heard recently was that you don't send people to get in front of a tornado or hurricane. Like, so why do people expect firefighters to get in front of a big moving fire?
Well, there was always like, I'm from Libby, where we mined asbestos. We pulled asbestos out of the ground.
Yeah, the old vermiculite.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some people in the community that you talk to now, they say, well, those old timers, they knew it. They understood the risk. Oof. And they did it, right? There's an acceptable casualty rate. So the military actually plans for an acceptable casualty rate. They have it written down,
Oof.
right?
Yeah.
And people say, well, you don't. And I say, well, actually, we do. And it's in a different way. We lose, on average, around 20 wildland firefighters a year. And we don't say it's acceptable, but if it weren't acceptable, we'd stop doing what we're doing altogether.
Yeah, you couldn't even go in the woods because of the risk, right?
So there's a tacit acceptance to what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to minimize any of that, right? But there is a viewpoint to any response to a natural disaster is the risk, you signed up for this, keep that fire in its spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I do not have in my operations an acceptable casualty or, fatality or otherwise, someone getting hit by a snag patch, right?
Yeah.
So right now, I can tell you this. I've told this to many, many people over time, is that this fire right now, if I could make it stop, I'd stop it. If I had what it took to stop it right there, I'd stop it right there.
Yeah.
But right now, for either safety's sake or fire behavior's sake or topography or whatever, or standing snags, I can't go get it there.
Yeah.
But here's what I will tell you, is I'm making plans right now to go in a defensive position, an indirect position. I'm going to put my eggs in that basket over there, right over there.
Yeah.
And I explain that very clearly to people. They may not like it, right? There was a fire in California where there was a marine layer over the fire for most of the day. And about 2 o'clock when the marine layer hit, it would blow up again. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But we took advantage of the marine layer to burn underneath it.
Yeah.
Right? So we're putting, I'm chasing spots and all that from 2 to 5. But from 8 to 2, I'm actually burning underneath that marine layer when I can.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm bringing the fire down to the road. People are like, you're lighting fire?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing this to the road. And this one day, I'll never forget, in this one community, I'm standing there having this heated conversation with the sheriff.
Oh, no.
Because I'm telling him now, again, in another community, that I'm recommending that he evacuate.
Yeah.
Right? We're on to like day 7. He looks at me, he's like, why did we even bring you guys in here?
Because
I'm still evacuating people, right? Why? What is the worth of you?
Oh,
right?
That's what he's getting at, huh?
So the fog lifts, the marine layer lifts, and we're both at this spot where we can't see anything going. I know what's going on, and today's the day we're tying it into the road.
Yeah.
And the mortality of the trees on the hillside there, where fire doesn't normally burn that intensely, the whole community shook. Right?
Yeah.
They had lightning go over San Francisco. I'm sorry, lightning should not occur in San Francisco because the coastal waters are too cold to generate that kind of convective lift.
Oh, I didn't
So
know
when
that.
you get a huge lightning pattern like they had go over San Fran up through Sacramento on the coastline, that's an odd thing, and the community was shook, right?
Yeah, that is weird.
So the fog lifts, and we're having this discussion, and it's not going well. And the fog lifts, and all the fires, and I get this call that the fire is down to this road, and we're secure. No more chasing spots.
Oh, that's great.
And he looks at it, and he's like, "You did what? You burned down to that road?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Today is a sea change in me and you's relationship. Because now I'm not going to this you tonight at midnight and say I need another community evacuated. Your fire is down to the road, and it's essentially now a hold show. And this whole conversation that we have together, it's not going to be heated anymore. Because I just burned down to the nice, finally got to my happy point, and I brought it down. No more spots, no more runs on the hillside.
Yeah.
And I just watched him. I watched his shoulders go down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we went from being he wanted to pull that revolver and probably slap me in the head with it.
Yeah,
right?
pistol whip you a little bit.
Pistol whip me one time.
Yeah.
Someplace where it wouldn't show.
Yeah, exactly.
And from at that point, he understood that the long game that we had to play. We had to play. I didn't want to.
No, it's only card you had to play,
to.
right? Yeah.
Is done.
Oh, it's gonna be such a relief, man. Like having that tied in, and then like you said, and not just for you, but for the community, for the law enforcement, who's also very nervous about everything going on, and he's probably the liaison in a way to the community from you guys, because he lives there, knows everybody, and everyone's asking him questions. And
and I respect the hell out of him because he's taken a lot of heat.
Yeah, and
the
he's
mayor's taking a lot of heat. The county commissioner, right?
Yeah, and people don't think like they're not subject matter experts. What fire experience do they have until it's in their back door? They're not going out to get after fire like folks like us. So those poor folks, of course, are gonna be stressed out because they know nothing about what's going on, and then they're getting the questions like, why are they doing that with we see them lighting fires, there's already a fire here. They don't understand,
And sometimes I swing and I miss.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I'll own it.
Yeah, just being human, right? And doing what is it like doing the best with the amount of information you have at the time, and especially in a time crunch. You don't have time to pause, and let's discuss this real quick and see pro and con what's happening. It's like I gotta make the best reaction off the cuff that I have from the slides I have.
Or assemble all my stuff in one spot where I think I can have a chance.
Yeah.
Right. So right now with the bipartisan infrastructure law, there's actually money to do targeted fuel breaks in what we're calling potential operational delineations, and that's a fancy way of saying we're going to take our science, we're going to take our knowledge, and we're going to try to identify on the landscape where we think a fire of magnitude could be stopped.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to try to do some pre-treatment in there. We're going to try to use categorical exclusions, not to get around NEPA or the environmental assessment process. But we're talking about trying to put something on the landscape, a fuel break that might work.
Yeah.
That's difficult. It is never easy to say this will work.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's two things going on right now that I see in not only litigation, but in the science. Is that sometimes fire is burning so hot that there isn't a line that's going to stop it. It's going to take the treeless area on the top of the Mission Mountains.
Yeah.
Could it cross the Continental Divide?
Yeah.
Right? Could it cross this lake? Could it cross this river, this highway? Right? That's one thing.
Yeah.
And you're right. And many litigants are correct in that despite the fuels treatment, we still might get a crown fire that throws spots over the top of it. Matter of fact, the fuels treatment might even open up the canopy to the point where now there's more wind. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's one way of looking at it. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the other way of looking at it is the guy or gal in the truck who's driving up the road looking for a place to put a backfiring operation into, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going to find that? Where you've done some treatment.
Yep.
You can't. It would be reckless of me to walk up into some jackpotted, jackstrawed, beetle-killed lodgepole environment and think I can put a controlled backfire in it.
Yeah.
When I got a fire coming at me. That is negligent activity. It could be negligent.
Yeah.
Right? But if I back off and I find a nice, huge, grassy area a half mile away from the fire, and that's where I'm taking my stand, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm finding what we build as a sheltered fuel break, where I've got old trees, nice grandstandy still around, but I've cleared away all the ladder fuel, right, for, say, 100 feet.
Yeah.
That's my FI. I call my hotshot crew.
Yeah, hey, FI.
You know, hey, bud, you know, make it work.
Yep.
Let's do it. You tell me what you need.
Yep.
I will get it for you, and you tell me if you have the time.
Yeah.
And we will do this, and we'll plan that until you tell me you can't, because I don't know more than Fiella, right?
Yeah.
I don't know more than some soup who sees it every day, Fred.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey.
Yeah. Especially those guys.
That's how I spend my summer.
Yep.
Right. So that's the when people say, they bring up research to say that there isn't a fuel break alive that could stop a running crown. That's true sometimes. But if you look at it from my perspective on where I can take a stand, that's what I need. I need that.
Yeah.
I need that. I need those places.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, because people don't understand, like you said, the dead and down, the jackpotted and stuff. There's not much that you can do. I mean, if you had weeks, you could go through and mitigate all that dead and down. But in a fire, you don't have that much time, and especially if it's got some wind at its back, like you said, that meadow where you got a pre-treated area that you've already kind of designated, and especially if the local firefighters know, like, yeah, we treat this because it's part of our fuel plan, and you're like, oh, well, hey, there we are, and you don't have to go look for it, anything.
That's right. And I need everybody. I need everybody from my federal partners to the people who do most of the heavy lifting even with federal money, and that is the states.
Yeah.
The state people that I work with now in my new job are incredible. They are amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't see a lot of citizens in my day-to-day, but they do. They're on the front line with them. They are literally walking around their property, telling them about, they might be federal grant money available, but they're the tip of the spear. The Bill Burdicks of the world, right? The Eric Warringtons of the world, who are out there in the front yards, on the front lines, and telling people what they can do as a community or a single homeowner. I got mad respect for those guys because I don't have those interactions very often with the public, right?
Yeah.
And then I need people who are neighborhood ambassadors, right? They might be former federal or state employees or whatever who now live in a community and they're looking around going, hey, we're not about as prepared as we ought to be.
Yeah.
I need to go contact and turn this anger into positive action. I got to have it all the way down the line.
Absolutely.
I got to have everybody. Everybody's got to be bought in, right?
Yep.
And if you are disagreeing with my plan, I need you too.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with what I'm doing, for whatever reason, your professional opinion or your professional guidance, whatever, and I pool litigants into that.
Yeah.
I need you too, but I need you in the planning process.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good point, because then if you're confident in what you're doing, you can accept whatever.
Come on.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's do it. If
friction.
I'm doing it wrong, tell me how we can, and it may not be able to go all the way to where you are.
Yeah.
Right, but I got to find some middleman. I got to find some middle ground with you. And if we can't, I'll respectfully understand that. If we can't find middle ground,
yep,
I got respect for you.
Yeah.
Okay? We can agree to disagree. Our science may clash, right? Our data may clash, and we're gonna have to pick up the pieces of our shattered life and move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. And then if you're surrounded by just a bunch of yes men, yes people that you're not, like, you don't even know the blind spots you're building because everyone's just telling you you're doing great. And you could have a giant blind spot or blind spots, and you won't know it until, especially on big operations, until it hits you in the face. And you're like, whoa, I've been doing this the whole time. And here it is, biting me, whatever it might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like you said, like to your point with the DNRC folks and the neighborhood representative that has the fire experience, they can be like, hey, yeah, these are pretty bushes, but you don't want them this close to your house, or, like, you need some kind of fuel break between the woods and your place if you want to keep it,
Yeah.
And cause people just don't know. They want to live in the woods. I remember, like, in Lolo Peak, we had that where we were up Highway 12 doing some pre-treatment to people's places. And we go in there and people are like, no, I want that tree. No, I want that tree. And you're like, I know, but do you want to keep your house? You know, like we really got to take some of this fuel out of here. And if you want to have a chance, you know, save it. And, you know, they were nice and they went along with it, but they're also stressed from the fire. They're stressed because they like their place just the way it is. They moved to the woods for a reason. And that's verbatim is what a lot of them are saying. Like, I moved out here to get away from people, and because they didn't like us being there either, because they wanted to be by themselves, and then they didn't want their forest, their beautiful landscape, to be taken away from them. And it's like, I totally understand where you're coming from, but you know, you're not gonna have a house if we don't do this. You know, it's just how the house, you know, how the
and we got great people. We got the Dave Atkins of the world, the Tim Loves of the world, the Risa Lang Navarro's of the world, who are those neighborhood ambassadors and can speak neighborhood, right? Because they live there.
Neighborhood,
speak
the language,
there, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting when I go to a community, when I tell the sheriff, because they ask me, what do you want? Do you want a clean environment? Do you want everybody out? Right?
Oh.
How bad do you want me to go in? I don't tell them what to do. I tell them why they should do it, because they're responsible for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when there are a few people that kind of hang around, stick around, I don't mind them. I don't go over to them and say, "Can I get your next of kin? You got dental records?" I'm not. I say,
well, they're holding a garden hose.
How's it going?
House?
Is there a place where we can put animals? Is there a safety zone? Is there something, right?
Yeah, good point.
Are you looking after somebody who can't move right now?
Yeah.
I don't mind that intel. I don't mind people hanging around a little bit, because, hey, man, we're all in this together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because you see that even in the news, you know, and going through California, wherever it might be, you know, like any place really in the Northwest or in the U.S., and someone's out there with a garden hose, like, well, the fire's, like, threatening their home, and they're like, I'm not going anywhere. You're like, okay, I mean, it's your right, but, man, it's tough, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and then I got another question for you if you got a minute.
Yeah.
So, me and the Tyler brothers were talking yesterday, and he was saying something about, we were just discussing the amount that something like the Wild Land Firefighter Foundation shoulders, the amount of weight they shoulder, like in bad situations. I mean, they are the ones who are doing the most funding, the most help, it feels like, and support. Is that just the way it's going to be, or should the agency, you think, be doing more, or can they do more?
That's a great question. It's
like,
a great question.
I don't know what those waters are look like, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the short answer to your question is, I always say, yes, there is a foundation out there. There's the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation that helps.
Oh.
The Department of Justice actually has it's called a public service officer benefit that is substantial. Volunteer fire departments, police departments have been doing this a long time. Career fire departments have been doing this a long time, taking care of their own right.
Yeah.
There's lots of available funding, because one, I'll never make the situation good.
Yeah.
It ain't possible.
No.
Right? But at least I can create opportunity. The family doesn't have to be stuck. The family can move on, not in an emotional way, perhaps.
Yeah.
But they don't have to worry about finances.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially family where maybe the breadwinner was the hotshot or fire person, you know.
And it takes me a while as a family liaison to even approach that topic with somebody, because some people feel it's dirty money.
Yeah.
It's money that's made off the death of my wife or husband, right? They don't want it.
Yeah.
They don't want it. When my mom died, my dad didn't even want the insurance money. It felt terrible. He'd been paying into it his whole life. He didn't even want it. He didn't use it.
Yeah.
He said, "Does anybody want this? Because I'm going to give it to charity."
Oh,
right?
really?
So anyway, the one thing I will always say is that, the foundation's a phone call away, and they will help.
Yeah.
Right? However, it's my job in the class. We teach this, and You Will Not Stand Alone, in the Casualty Assistance Program that the Forest Service and other agencies are collaborators on. It is our goal to inform our employees. Let's let the agency help. There's lots that we can do.
Yeah.
Before we call the foundation. It may take a little bit longer, and sometimes, it's like, for example, if a family, if someone dies on an incident, or someone dies in their own home, they've taken their own life, right? The family wants to come. That's the first thing. Family wants to come.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if I, as a federal employee, can actually pay for their travel? Do you know? What do you think? You don't have to be right. What do you think?
I feel like no, just because I feel like it's. I don't know. I just don't know how you justify it. I guess even you know.
That's it. That's fine. But the answer is yes.
Oh, really?
It's called invitational travel.
Oh.
Right. All I need from them, I have to set them up in the same Concur system for travel that I use.
Yeah,
all I need from you is your Social Security number, and I will get you in a matter of maybe a day or so. It might take not even a day.
Oh.
We have people in the Casualty Assistance Program that can make that decision for you immediately.
God dang.
And so I can get them a flight.
Yeah.
And so the easy button for most people is to say, like, your impression is to say, we're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to waste our time. Call Burke.
Yeah, exactly. That's where my brain went, especially speed-wise, too.
It's my job to say, listen, with all due respect, it's going to take a couple hours.
Yeah.
Right? But we're gonna call the CFO at the Washington office, and Tony Dixon and their staff, who are rock stars, are going to give me the authority to put that in. I'm going to type it in, and I'm going to get you a flight.
Yeah.
Okay? You may have to incur the finance, but I'm going to reimburse you. So that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Right? That's how the government works. You experience an expenditure, and then you get it back.
And like you said, that's just the same with us. You know, if we go on a fire assignment, same deal.
Thing. And it's up to me as a family liaison, and we have what's called an administrative liaison that Deanna Crawford, she's a rock star, she came up with after 3 fatalities on the Lolo. She's like, someone has to speak financial. Someone has to understand the financial system.
Man.
So we created an administrative liaison whose job is to say, stop, we can do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And also to say we can't do this. One of the things I can't do is I can't bring food to a memorial, oddly enough.
That was an odd thing, yeah.
So I know that going into advance with my training, so I call the people who can. Missoula Rural Fire Department, Missoula Fire Department, Missoula Police Department, or a foundation, something. You guys have a kitty for bringing in food, something for our family, for our families, or for the participants? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a chaplain. Can you get me a flag? I can't go buy a flag.
Oh.
I understand what I need to do, right? And we're going to go get a flag from Brett's RV, or we're going to get a flag from 4Bs or whatever. These guys are great, right? We'll move a mountain. Most of what you see in response is paid for by the agency, and most of the benefits that go to a family come from the agency.
Oh.
There's a lot, and a lot of people don't know what they are, and that's why people come to the class.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, that's smart. I should attend that class, even just for like this, you know, doing this, you know, like, because, you know, I was kind of, you know, because you're kind of a big deal, you know. I think you know a little bit about it being a big deal, but you are. Like, people know who you are, and because you've reached so many people with classes and so many people who are, like, in my level. I mean, one of my friends, Greg Shanks, an FMO, and that's kind of the trajectory. If I would have stuck around the district, I would be, like, in AFMO, FMO kind of range right now if I didn't go jump, probably, you know. So, I mean, like, all these people who are now kind of big deals themselves, you know, like, came up through the ranks of you teaching them, you know, and so, you know, kind of a big deal. And so when I coming to talk to you, I was, like, asking, like, Tyler Brothers and a few folks, like, you guys got some good stuff to, you know, you want to hear me ask CJ, you know, and that was just, you know, kind of the one thing that was, like, coming up was, like, yeah, you know, the foundation, you hear about them, and then, like, the NFR, you know, National Finals Rodeo, and Burke's out there getting a check, which is awesome to see.
$250,000.
Yeah.
Pete Coors.
Oh, man, I was so pumped to see that, and that hit my brain when you talked about Vicky and Burke doing those T-shirts, and then, you know, $100,000, huge, $10 at a time, however long that took, and then someone like Pete Coors comes through, and then bam, here you go. You know, God, what an awesome moment.
You know, I can't say enough. And I'm, you know, when I wasn't a Coors kid growing up. As a matter of fact, there's a great guy in town here. His name's Mike Markovich, and he runs Summit Beverage, and and he reached out to us, and you know, Pete Coors made it pretty clear to his distributors to say, listen, we want to be the beer of Wild Land Firefighters.
Yeah.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Right, I appreciate any company that would want to support a damn good idea. We've been over that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to, for whatever reason, and it's likely financial, but I don't know. I've never had a talk with Pete. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know what his motivations are. Right. I just know that he provides resources that I can. You give me $1, I'll make it 3.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So I appreciate when you have a commercial to say we support wildland firefighters. I appreciate that.
The semis,
but
with big murals.
Send me 50 and I'll turn it into 150.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So there's some great people all up and down the line. The Markovich Foundation they reach out. Those guys reach out, and that's just locally here in town.
Oh.
These are the Summit distributor.
Oh, gotcha.
And a stalwart partner of ours in the Putt Pull, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so all that stuff is great, but I never lose sight of my agency and what we can do for people.
Yeah.
And most people, like this kid that came to me and asked me didn't understand that there was matching contributions.
Yeah.
They just no one ever sat down and talked to people about what's available.
Yeah.
Read down your paycheck. What does it even have on it? Do you understand what's in your paycheck?
Yeah.
Do you understand what your benefits are when you get a benefit statement? Do you understand how that can work? And a lot of that stuff you have to go digging, or you have someone like T-Bro, someone who understands that it's my job as a supervisor to make this person care about this and understand it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of times that comes out of tragedy. The guys on the San Bernardino, they had an engine company were killed, overrun by a fire.
Oh, man.
And all those guys from the San Bernardino, and Chris Fogel comes to mind, because Fogel went, and I didn't know Fogel before the burnover on the San Bernardino, and the incident name is escaping me. I apologize.
Yeah.
But Fogel has become an expert on what the agency can do, what the agency's barriers and limitations are, and how we train our people accordingly. He is a man of immense stature.
That's important to have.
Because he understands the ins and outs of policy, investigations, right?
Yeah.
What we can do, what we can't do. That man has become the expert, in my opinion. And it came out of tragedy.
Yeah.
It came out of what he saw, how we treated people, how we could support people, how investigations impacted people, how the release of investigative reports affected families. He saw it all.
Yeah, I bet. I didn't think about that. Not many people would really.
And he could have walked away from it. He could have said it's too much, and he didn't.
And that is a lot to take on.
Yeah, and he's the man, right?
Yeah.
And he will tell you straight. His employees, I guarantee you, are fully informed.
Yeah.
They are fully informed of what all these ins and outs of what people don't know, don't even know what to ask. His employees are, I guarantee you, they're all lined up.
Yeah. I think that's important to have too, because then I think when you have educated employees like that too, is then they understand the buy-in a little bit. And for me, I worked in the private sector for a little bit, so I understand what it's like on the outside of the federal service, like the Forest Service. Even like little things like being able to share your sick leave. Like if something happened to you and you burned out your sick leave, like me and other Forest Service employees can donate to you. Like that's huge. You don't have that in the private sector, or two many lines of work, and I think being educated on that, like I guess what I'm trying to say is then you understand kind of how good you may have it, and your options at least, and maybe you can get it better somewhere else, but at least you have a really good idea of how good it is, I guess, to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's just kind of more stuff you run into when people get sour with the agency. I think they kind of forget all the options and stuff too, and just the support that you do get, even though it feels slow sometimes. But I think you just don't know the right channels. Like you were just telling me about the flying the families. It's like I was like, if that can happen, it's going to be weeks. But I didn't think of it as like operationally in myself. I've had it where I can't remember what happened, but my flight on my end said it was booked, but then in the airlines, and it wasn't, it wasn't purchased, but I thought I had it all ready to go. And then
it's
I
just sitting there reserved.
Yeah, yep. And I got to get on the flight. I'm coming from Region 8, and I'm trying to check my PG bag and then my personal bag, or my line gear and my personal gear. And next thing I know, I don't have a flight.
Right. Would you like to buy a ticket today, Sue?
Yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah. So it's like, oh no. So I get on, with the God, what was it then? The travel company that we work with.
Was it Concur?
Concur, yeah. And I thought there was like another number, but anyways, I called them up and they're like, "Yeah, let's see what we can do." And I mean, that flight like was about full and was gonna leave, and I didn't even have time to check my line gear, and so like I just got my stinky line gear and just run on the plane, and like it happened that fast, and that's what my brain went to when you were saying we can make things happen. You know, you just got to know that you can, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will tell people, don't feel like you have the responsibility to know it all. You just need to know who to call.
True.
There is a power-packed 5'6" woman named Crystal Johnson.
Yeah.
Who is came out also that San Bernardino tragedy, and the name of that engine company and all that's escaping me. I feel terrible about that, but
I know I need someone here to be able to look up stuff for us.
That's right.
One of these days.
That's right. So she and Fogel and several other folks came out of that tragedy with the passion to sound the alarm, organize resources, create resources, and get the word out.
Yeah.
And so when I don't feel like I have to know everything at all. I have actually a very poor memory.
You seem like you have a heck of a memory.
Well, it's I have to practice it. People think I'm crazy driving down the road because I'm actually, like when I was coming here, I am physically talking. I'm a behaviorist, right? So I'm physically talking about how I might start talking today. I had a stutter when I was a kid. Dad had a pretty bad stutter.
I remember you telling me this in one of my first classes with you.
So I have to practice what I say.
Yeah.
Once I get to where, and I take pauses. I take pauses because the way when you stutter, you have the idea of the word in your head and you can't get it out of your mouth.
Oh.
Right? That's what it is. That's what it. I can see it. It's ready to go, but I can't say it.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So I do the same thing. And so I don't have to know everything, give me a break, or remember it all. Some things stick with me, right? After I teach them. Once I teach something, I got it.
Yeah.
If I just hear it from somebody, so I know my phone, I've had the same number. I've had different phones, but I've had the same phone number and all my contacts. I don't care about apps. I don't care about my cookies, my web history.
Yeah. Not on the gram.
I have people in my phone. And when I have something that I need an answer to, I pick up the phone.
Smart.
And I call them. Because hey, man, if I need an authoritative answer, then I know who to call. That's the whole gig. You don't have to know all this stuff. It's great that you do because you're empowering yourself and most importantly, the people who work for you.
Yeah.
That you work for. Todd Wilson told me a long time ago. He'd always ask this question. He'd ask a question of a kid. He'd say, "Hey, who do you work for?" And he'd say, "I work for Brett Lewis. He's my supervisor." "No, you don't. Brett works for you." He'd always say that, right?
Yeah. I've heard that a few times in my history too, my career.
Hoorah Bitterroot. That's where I heard that first was on the Bitterroot. Who do you work for? Well, I work for Bart Hoig. No, Bart works for you. You work for your family. You work for the people you supervise. That's who you work for.
And it makes sense because, like, when something happens, like with me and my Crohn's, I go to my supervisor, and then the supervisor is the one who usually is chasing down the answers and figuring out what I can do, what my options are, and so that's interesting. I even though I've heard it, like my brain didn't really process it that way, No,
I get it. Till you live it, chew it, and teach it. And that's no joke.
Yeah.
The top of the learning pyramid is teach it. It's not even doing it.
Yeah.
It's teaching it. You learn the least from a lecture. You learn a little more by doing some kind of hands-on activity. You learn a little more by actually physically doing it and gaining experience. And you learn the most when you have the proficiency enough to teach it.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like even like as engine boss, crew boss, whatever those like real hands-on ones are. I mean, I guess all the way up to like division or anything. I guess in the wildland, really, when you're gonna have a trainee, that's usually like you can do the job really well, but then you get even better when you have the trainee, because then you have to explain it and the why to everything, And if you're not given the why, then you're not being a good instructor, right? So, wow, man, that's good stuff. No, well, CJ, I don't want to keep you too long, man. We got about 2 hours and 13 minutes right there. I was gonna ask you a few more questions, but I think maybe the next one or something.
Yeah, we can do it again. Why don't we do it again?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Cause my bladder's about to explode, and it is getting a little chilly in here. Are you feeling cold?
No, I got my Ryan Moline gave me this. There's only two ways to get a firefighter apparel, right? Be one or do one.
Yeah.
Right. But old Ryan Moline over in North Dakota, he works for North Dakota University, North Dakota Forest Service. I only met him through this job.
You guys are close?
And, I respect Ryan because Ryan gets it done. He gets IT done.
Oh, gotcha.
And he just gave me this. You know, I gave him a challenge coin. And he starts looking around, and he's like, I don't know what I can give you.
Yeah.
And I said, buddy, who else is going to fit into a 2XL hoodie on a fire crew? He said, I'll take that. He's like, you got it. So shout out to old Ryan Moline over there in North Dakota doing the good work.
Yeah. Man, absolutely. And I've been eyeballing a little bit, and I didn't really put it together. It's just one of those things I'm like, yeah, that's a cool looking logo. And but I was reading North Dakota Fire the whole time, and I was like, when would you have been out there? It didn't click until you said something.
Yeah.
The
good folks out there.
Yeah. So February 4th, Fire on Ice.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Come on down. You better hurry because the place fills up.
Oh, Madhouse. That's the biggest crowd. Oh, I was going to say earlier, that's the biggest crowd I've ever played for. And I played high school sports. I ran college track, but no one really you don't get a really monster crowd coming out for track. But man, when I came in last year to play in front of that crowd, man, and I was like post-pandemic when things were kind of getting more back to normal. Holy, and you could feel it.
Yeah. Hey, and bring a couple $100 to fling around. It's a fundraiser.
Yeah. Right.
So bring some money. Bring a checkbook. Don't overextend yourself. But the money that we're raising is going right to families. All right. So it's a fundraiser. Let's be generous. Let's do what we can. If you can't, if you just come down there and have some fun, help out your own mental health. Right.
Huge.
Come together with your peers on that night. Your sisters and bros. If you got 2 nickels to rub together, you just want to have some fun, come on down.
Absolutely.
Come on down. Let's connect.
Yep.
Let's get together.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great time for it. Man, you could see it in people's faces. Even on ice, it felt like people weren't even watching the game as much. It was more like a background almost when people were just reconnecting last year. It was so amazing to see. Powerful. Man, you could feel it. And then April 22nd?
April 22nd, Saturday night, you if you go to Missoula, puttandpull.org, you'll get all the intel you need. Big party at the Missoula Brewing, Highlander out there.
Yeah.
So if you don't shoot trap, don't play golf, and you want to come out again and experience the best thing I got to offer you, and that's connectivity with your peers in a nice social situation.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Great spot.
Have a great time.
Yeah.
Have a great time.
Man. Well, yeah. Thanks, CJ. I appreciate you coming in,
Luke.
man.
I
and
appreciate it.
taking time on Saturday. And it's cold. Man, my boots aren't as warm as that sweatshirt, I guess. But yeah, thanks again, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks.